Same time, same bat time, same bat channel. I'm gonna send you guys over to the big kahunas. I'll see everybody at the green screen shortly. Peace.
Yeah, I was just saying I get nervous when I go down there and I see Ramin's like huge truck parked beside the Tesla. I'm like, oh man.
Bigfoot.
I hope never got, yeah, like that's what I think about, like getting crunched.
Here's a question for you. Welcome back, everybody. Random question to start things off.
I gotta get into this chat.
The answer is going to be yes, a waste of time. If presented with the opportunity, would you drive one of those big feet to like run over stuff?
Yeah, that would be like I mean, it's not part of my...
Can you pay to do that?
Yeah. I would think you could pay to do it.
Well,
I did, just like we did...
Like in Vegas, maybe?
Yeah. Oh yeah, well in Vegas you can do anything. You want, literally. Dirt bikes we did before. You rent a dirt bike and just go over those hills. I'm sure you can rent a monster truck.
Yeah, I would imagine if you
just, like,
can't.
Demolish things. Yeah, but they should do that, like when they're in town. They should
let people drive them.
Yeah, for whatever, $1,000 or whatever, you get to...
Mess some stuff up, man.
I mean, I guess there's some insurance situation.
Well, I'm sure there's like, whatever. Maybe you have to do some kind of like, I don't know, a mini road test or whatever. But the market, wow. The Nasdaq is now up 1%. The ES 0.7, we've been absolutely floating higher. And then the other side of it, let me just quickly here, because you got to see what's going on. Well, you guys know this, what's going on with oil by now. This is not a typo. The oil futures from the open down 11%. Like it's going distinctly in the other direction here at the low of the day. I know it's down 6%, but if you just look at it, like remember we were gapped and now you're just absolutely tanking. Make sure you're on the forward contract in there. So pretty much everything reversed rather nicely, 2 set upside. Yeah, mad respect to these markets. It may be not what you'd expect. I mean, if I had expected it, I wouldn't have gotten out of Indo short. Like that thing is like, yeah, energy getting moked. That's the only way to think about it, everybody. And the market's going higher, kind of shrugging all of this off, which is amazing. It's amazing to see the buying come in. Bitcoin held 100,000, almost on a dime. Bitcoin held 100,000. So yeah, pretty strong markets there, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good afternoon. The shorts, probably not. That's all I got to say, because I don't think most people would have thought there'd be like a retaliatory launch and we'd be breaking highs, but that's what bull markets do.
Yeah, we've been in a bull market now for 5 months or 4 months, whatever. Actually, mid-April, I guess, into mid-2 months. But anyways, I just wanted to say, and I didn't tweet it out, I got filled down here on the SPY in the long-term account. I actually had a limit on buy order at the beginning of the day and missed it, and then it came back in and filled me. So I'm a little longer now in the SPY as opposed to the Nasdaq. So just bought a little bit more SPY today. And yeah, man, I mean, the move down in oil, what's up, Scott H there in the chat? No reference to Scott Hall, I don't think. Because, hey, yo, you're gonna get the toothpick going on there. One of the best characters ever in WWE history. That in Miami Joe over there. What's up, Miami Joe? The Razor's Edge.
There it is.
I tell you, this guy is more like me than I even give credit for. And it's not a good thing, Joe, by the way. Yeah, but oil down 6.5%. Honestly, seems way too excessive to me, as Scott H was pointing that out in the chat. Like, you knew this was going to happen. I mean, last night, it was like, they're going to respond, and they were like, we're going to respond, and everyone's like, they're going to respond. So, I don't know. You know, this morning I got a little bit, I mean, we had some ideas on here. We'll go over them all as we're going to go through the rundown, but I feel like this is a little much here, you know, considering how much oil is dropping, which is absolutely fantastic. We talked about oil prices and the consumer, right? So, you know, those comments that Trump made were way back into here. You know, oil's been dropping since then for a long time, man. It's in 1230 right there, all the way back in. So what a good move in oil to the downside. As if Iran's only going to, I guess, you know, start to throw some little missiles at Qatar and all this stuff, then that's not going to do anything. They're going to get shot down out of the sky. So
get them a wave.
Nice move to the downside right now, and I think it's overdone. I highlighted and almost, it wasn't on the sticky note today, but like was really thinking of just throwing down XOM. And we talked about that earlier on today when we zoomed this back out. And I'm like, look, this 120, like I thought it was going to go up a little bit more today. This area was a really good support. Sorry, I always say support, resistance there. And I said that joke or whatever, that we only spent like 20 days sort of above 120 there in the last year and a bit. And today we kind of got there and then right back down. So I don't know. In all of this talk, if this is the worst it's going to be, then I am getting way bullish on the market, as you guys know. That was kind of cool, whatever just happened there, I feel like. I don't know, I feel like the screens just did something that was pretty cool. Like,
Oh, it's because it's the other way around. Was it?
that's cool. Ooh, look at, are you doing this on purpose over there?
It's like shuffling. It's like shuffling the deck.
Oh, I'm not even logged in to hear what even Andre is saying, but all right, so that's...
He's just trying a little something.
Oh, he is
something,
trying it out.
shifting
Okay, I
shifting
like
it back
all
and
that.
forth. We can move things around. It's like, you know,
Yes.
like dealing the cards out there and
I like that.
I showed my daughter a couple of
Card tricks?
well, not really tricks, but like just a couple of like a card. I showed her a card force. Like I'm not a magician, but like I've always been intrigued by it.
Really?
Like there's a couple of like card forces and little things that I happen to know how you do.
Yeah.
And she's obsessed with. So I showed her a couple.
Yeah.
And she's been practicing.
That's sick.
Which is just fun, like fun things that you do. We'll get to Sharif in just a quick little minute, but I wanted to go, if we could, to the circled one, if we can. What's interesting, maybe not what I would have expected when the market was back at the high, but circle's not nearly the beast this afternoon that we were looking at, I don't know, like every day. I was going to say like Friday, but like every day.
Circle,
It's just, yeah, it's like you're back down pretty much where it broke out, like these pre-market tops, and it's not really participating the way that you would want right now. So the squeeze is temporarily on hold, but it's still technically making some higher lows. Like it's over 250, I think it's kind of okay, but just worth keeping an eye on it, because when the market rallies, usually like the shorts in this get a little bit scared, and then you'll see this start breaking out. But Circle not doing any damage this afternoon. Although it was, obviously this morning it did fantastic. Are we ready for Sharif? Awesome, let's go to the desk. Did they call like a...
All right, guys, welcome to the afternoon rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. You just saw them. The boys, they're locked and they're loaded and they're ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. But the only way to get those tickers up there is to join Joseph and I on the midday show and get into that chat and vote for your favorite tickers every day. It's super easy now, guys. It's a $, 3, 4, or 5 letter ticker. The computer will automatically generate it for us. Here, let's look at the 4 major averages on the day. They're all in positive territory right now with the triple Qs leading the way up over 1%, followed by the ES and the Dow, basically both locked in a tie right now, up over 0.75%, both green on the day. As I mentioned, IWM, the Russell 2000, the worst performing of the 4 major averages, but up 0.5% nonetheless. The first ticker, as decided by you guys, the one that Neil was just mentioning, Circle, CRCL, up to the tune of 8% on the day, but off the high that touched $300, a bit of a V-shaped retracement. It didn't really need another headline today, but it's got one. They announced a deal with Fiserv to use its stablecoin platform with the digital banking company for payment capabilities, guys.
Yeah, beast mode.
So you're capable.
It's capable. Fiserv, that's actually good news for them for sure. But, you know, I'll go back and sort of, I slapped this one as a bit of a fail because on the note this morning, it was like, there wasn't much in terms of dip buys, but like 230 support, be patient. The reversion on Friday was worth waiting for. Well, the problem was the reversion on Friday, like it tanked for, I don't know, like 5 straight candles. It made the bottom at 948, so it was just tanking off the open, and you had to wait for it to curl. It was a little bit different today. It did go right into that 230 level, but that's the first candle at the open, and it immediately reverses. So patience was not the way to go here. It was actually one of those situations where you could just put your bid in front of the level, and that's all you can do. I took one like scalp breakout trade on Circle, and then was trading coin. It was weird because I went over to Coinbase instead when I saw Circle kind of forming. Like, look at this 300 top. I mean, double topped at 300 and started rolling over. And I knew I'd missed it because we were already flushing down, and I went over to like short coin, and then right before all that, like the market tanked is when I had gotten out of coin, and the market tanked like 2 minutes later. So I actually ended up trading coin a little bit more actively than Circle. What's interesting for me about Coinbase is, as much as you think, I think it should have gone at least to these highs, like to 350, 340, 350, given the move that we saw in Circle. If Circle can continue this and break 300, I think we're going to see a chance for Coinbase to break away from this 310 area. But it wasn't able to do so today. Circle couldn't take out that 300. But if you wanted to, but anybody that's disappointed about Circle making a top at 300, like it was at, like on Thursday, the stock was half the price. So like being depressed about it's a fact that it just topped out here at 300 bucks. Like all things are relative. I'm not sure I want to go long this one this afternoon. It doesn't seem like it's as strong as the market like it usually is. So I'm going to stay away from Circle. Maybe if it breaks the lows, go into a sympathy short or something in coin like before.
Yeah, just hearing President Trump is saying that all the sites in Iran were destroyed and everybody knows it, basically saying. Oh, Allison Cooper? Okay, this guy's getting carried away. But yeah, as Trump continues to talk, we'll wait to see if there's any reaction. I was just going to say about CoreWeave is that, you know, this is the day. I don't know if this is the day, but finally a red candle that kind of matches yesterday's green candle. So, you know, CoreWeave covering it up. And once you fill this gap, I think CoreWeave is going to be a short, but we got to break through this 145 area first. Just a little gap fill back to 160 here for CRWV, probably a buy in that area. But okay, there's been no U.S. casualties reported at all today. So as you go, if that's going to be the response from Iran, then and it didn't. Thankfully, they didn't, you know, kill anyone, or sounds like anyways, U.S. casualties is what we're hearing. No surprise there that the Nasdaq continues to bounce a little bit higher. But yeah, what we saw in CoreWeave today, you're going to see in Circle at some point. You know, it's just a matter of letting it calm down. I guess there's options at this point in Circle. I'm not 100% sure how long that takes to get going, but that to me would be one of the only ways to play it. And that 300 top, again, like we talk about playing easy levels. That was a pretty good one. There are options for Circle, so we can go over those in a minute. But $300, a great top there, down $40. Was kind of tough to take, but easy to see when you look back, right? So there's 300. It hit twice on the 1 minute chart. You miss it there, there's really no excuse for rate there. But the thing is, if it breaks, you're probably going to lose $5 or so. So, but anyways, nice move down. There it goes, man. Circle giving you everything but the square today.
Like that one, Sean. All right, guys, Tesla up to the tune of 9.5%. It's off the highs as well. It breached that 350 level. Was able to get about to 357, settling down now at around 352. Shares are trading higher, obviously, after the Robotaxi launch event yesterday in Austin. And here is just one of many different influencers who was invited. You'll see the driver's seat empty there with the safety driver on the right. Give you an idea, guys, that it's about 10 of these Model Ys driving around Austin. They're all geo-fenced into one specific area, and they're going to avoid bad weather, guys, as well. You got to be over 18 to hail one of these, at least for the moment.
Looks 17 to me, so I don't know.
I don't know if you're old enough to drive anyways. That's a good thing, though. This Tesla analysis is about to be brought to you by 3D Capital, that's IDK on the CSE, because investing in every sector you love and all in one stock you can do with 3D, also in the US, IDKFF, a risk-diversified basket of 60-plus vetted investments. Get founder-level exposure, the kind most investors can't access in some of the hottest sectors: blockchain, AI, IoT, biotech, and natural resources. Led by a CEO whose last venture returned 150x, 3D is currently trading at a discount to its asset value per share, and they're actively buying back into leading shares. The world's highest returning investments usually come from founder-level success. Think of 3D as your ETF for early-stage disruptive innovation. Scan the QR code you see in front of you, link in the description, everybody.
What a lovely city that was there in the background when you have lovely. You
see it.
Toronto.
Oh, it was yeah.
Come on, Neil, pay attention. All right, so just real quickly here, Tesla. I mean, what a big trade today. You guys sort of saw this. Right, Trump wants no more military engagement, apparently, but in the Middle East. So we'll find out where that's coming from. But there it is, up 9% right now goes Tesla. There's that first trade. We wanted the pre-market break. It's on the sticky note. I'm going to feel like a broken record, obviously, just keep saying that. But then there's the 350. And then it came back in. That's our last 10%, so we get out that for flat. Then I tried to get a VWAP in the 200 period. It didn't work. But it would have worked fine. Had to give it a little bit more room. We literally got out at 347 there by taking it at, so we took it at 347.50, and we got out at 346.50, I guess. So a dollar hit there, and not the same amount of shares. I really think that if you're going to trade Tesla, we've talked about this a few times here on the show, that you really want to try to get that first bump going through and then join the party, which we did there at 350, at the 350 break, and that was good. But then it was like, okay, then the drip down. Now we may still go higher here into the afternoon, but you're going to have to respect this 345 area. So if we do happen to come back, I'm long AMD. It's the only trade on right now. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But I don't really want to do anything until we get into this level again. So for me on Tesla, it's a wait and see. It was a big, huge trade off the open. It was the #1 idea here on the note, and we took it, and it was a good one, right? So nice move up. I think you wait now and be patient. Tesla 360, that's definitely coming in. I think you're, again, one story away. Today's story is pretty special. We just wait for another one on Tesla because there it is right there. We've already been up here and got rejected. And I just want to say, like, if you were nervous about anything before on Tesla, well, it held the 200 period. You're right back up to this area. And this is a good opportunity to either sell some calls against, against 400 or something like that, 380. I don't know if you want to get called away, that's possible up there and make a little bit of cash in case we just sideways trade. But I like Tesla in this area. And with the administration back on their side, I think it's just a matter of time before that FSD and these Robotaxis get whatever approval they want, and that's always good. So, right now, obviously we're distracted a little bit with Iran and all this kind of stuff. I just think if Texas, well, that's Austin, but if Tesla is back on the mind of Trump, I think the next round of discussions between Elon and Donald will go a little more positive than the last ones, and I think that's good for Tesla.
It's given everybody this time to forget that there was even a spat in the first place.
I should say Tesla. I should say Tesla.
It's almost perfect. Look, the conflict is bad, but getting out of the headlines I think is great, and then getting good news back in makes even more sense. So I think, to me, it looks like a hold. I'm holding on to the last third of my 220 buy, and I'm holding for a breakout that gets you to 420. I mean, why not? 420 is a level on the daily chart. If we fail this breakout and we lose the 50 and the 200, they're about the same spot. That gets you out of a swing trade. I think you're in hold mode for Tesla for sure. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Guess what is next? We'll talk about him. So a tale of two cities, a tale of two stocks. As strong as Tesla was, HIM's taking it on the chin and continuing.
Apparently, just no missiles have hit at all. So everything that Iran fired were fireworks.
Strong defense.
4th of July.
Ooh, I like that one. All right, guys, HIMS, 31.75% in negative territory, and we're actually off the lows. It's as a result of this headline over here. Basically, Novo Nordisk coming out overnight and looking at cutting off some of the business relationship they have here with HIMS, which had the CEO of HIMS, Andrew Dudum, taken to X and says, we will continue to offer access to a range of treatments, including Wegovy. He's disappointed to see the Novo Nordisk management team mislead, according to him, the public. And he says Novo's commercial team was increasingly pressuring the company in recent weeks to control clinical standards as well as to steer patients to Wegovy. So interesting here that this was, I guess, sometime in the making now with the pressure here for HIMS to focus on Wegovy rather than the other one.
Yeah, it never caught a bounce till $42 here on HIMS. It never really set up for a clean enough short. I suppose, if you're being really picky about it, there was maybe an opportunity in here when it got to VWAP and the prior lows to short HIMS at 48. At that moment, we're not talking about oil, but I was trading on Indo at that moment, so there was pretty much no chance. Like, I wasn't going to short this when I was looking for INDO. Like, that moment was the exact time when Indo went from a long to a short. There was just no way you're going to execute in both these. So I think you got to just let him settle down for a couple of days. If it can hold on to 42, that's the first level of support. Great. I think the 200 period moving average, if things get really nasty, could be a nice little spot where it consolidated previously for about a month or so. But like, I wouldn't be rushing to catch the bid here and try and jump into a falling knife. Nah, like, you could park your money in Lilly if you liked this group so much. Not a very good day for HIMS. There's no real silver lining here except for the fact that it bounced a couple bucks off 42.
All right, listen up, Chicago 1807 in the chat. If you are interested here, by Zoltan ban on seeking alpha, VinFast developing market strategy is starting to catch investor attention. While competition strong in the US and Europe, they're focusing on fast-growing markets like India, Indonesia, and the Philippines. With rising oil prices, EVs are looking more appealing. Q1 showed major progress. Losses per vehicle dropped from 61,000, sounds a little bit much, to 18,000. Nasdaq ticker VFS. It's VinFast. It's definitely the one to watch. We want to thank VinFast for sponsoring the segment on Trader TV Live. Mateo, what's up, Mateo? What's going on, my guy over there? There he is over there. Always having an espresso over there. I like it. I like it. Okay, so right there, shout out to Mateo. That's what happens. You know, you're in my purview. You know, nothing's stopped. Okay, there he is. What's he doing now? Okay, you got a little off the brow there. Okay, but yeah, no, HIMS. We talked about that earlier today. I mean, that's a big thing to lose. We don't have like HIMS health, I don't think, here. Like, whenever I'm watching commercials in the United States, I do see, you know, ads for HIMS and HERS healthcare. And I guess it's just, you know, prescription medicine. I guess you're ordering it off the phone and stuff like that, or off the internet and delivery service and all this. But when they don't have Wegovy, and now Novo Nordisk said they're going to do it themselves out of their own distribution system. So, you know, that's not going to be great. You know, for HIMS, I guess they're not going to get it back either. Eli Lilly distributes theirs. I guess there's Ozempic. I don't know. They're delivering theirs their own way as well. So, you know, it's not great news here for HIMS. And I'm not sure what percentage of their revenues are coming from that particular segment, but I'm assuming it's a hell of a lot. So there goes HIMS to the downside, man. I will see you at $28. And I think somewhere around there is likely. I mean, you know, you always want to look at that last little level. You know, obviously it dripped into there. Got to try to find what that story was that brought this back in February. But yeah, not a great look. And, you know, there's a lot of day traders. We talked about it with some of the guys on our show. A lot of traders that have been, you know, long this name. And there's ETFs, levered, this and that. Yeah, dangerous. You know, when it slips up, it slips up. That's actually the short float. I looked today, it was 32% short. So you're down 32% today. And yeah, no real bounce here today at all from the SSR take. So yeah, not great news here for HIMS. But, you know, you break above 46, I think you can get going again for the long. So that would be something that I'd be looking at for HIMS, break long of 46. You know, when you gap, look to VWAP. Normally you look to short that if it gets up there, so either dealer's choice, but you know, I wouldn't do anything except for either break the short right there at 42.30 and join it, or wait for it to come back up and hit that 46 level. It's HIMS, and today it's not going the way that their product gets you to go. This is going downside there today. So I don't know, man. Let's go back over to the desk with Sharif and see what's going on with AMD. You know, we're all over that one.
That was a good one, Sean. All right, AMD, not the big mover that HIMS and Tesla and Circle all are on the day, but it's up to the tune of 1.05% as a result of Melius Research upgrading advanced micro devices to buy and boosting that price target, guys, up from 110 to 175. They say they like the advanced GPU market in 26 to 28, especially, boys, for those advanced inference chips that AMD is on the precipice of producing.
I mean, I can, yeah, I can take this over there. So I had AMD on the mind early, right? This was one of the 3 trades that we had. We had Apple long, we had AMD long, and Tesla long. Well, a story of multiple stories, I guess, today, because tale of multiple stories, because we were long off 130. That was great. It worked out fantastic. Went to 133. It's part of that open push, right? I mean, I feel pretty lucky early that we were able to get AMD. I mean, here's the open here at 131.80, and then it comes all the way back in. And at that point, I believe these were, I can replay this, but I believe these were VWAP trades or something down there that I was just like, let's just support 130, because as we took this trade, it actually did go against us down here into 129.85. So we weren't going long. We were going long off of a 130, but I guess maybe using the 200 period there, I'd have to, if you want to really know, you have to go back and see what I was saying. But there's the move higher. We did not reload it until it got to the 200, which makes sense because that's normally what I'll do. Reloaded there, then came back in, reloaded against 130. Once we broke 130, that was the end of it. We tried it again. It broke 129. Bad. We tried it again. Broke. I don't think... So it's my number 1 stock P&L wise today, but I think we might have actually gone red on it somewhere in here. Just too many tries all the way down. But then when we broke back again above 129, I was just like, let's go. We saw the market starting to go, so we busted it long, and we just took basically the top as $1. Now we're starting to come back in a little bit, and we have less and less on this now. So I have about 15% left of this initial trade. If we break back down below 129, we're going to get out of this one. But AMD was really cooking today, and I'm glad that we looked at it. I haven't looked at any other chip names, although I believe SMCI I probably should have had a look at some point, but maybe we'll do that this afternoon. But AMD, my number 1 stock, and I believe we might have not gone red on it, but we gave back a significant portion during this. So we were trying to defend the long, and eventually, like even there into the pre-market, that's what we were kind of doing right there. We lost it. Then we tried to go off of yesterday's close, which Friday's close, and that didn't work. So we had to wait for momentum, and thankfully we were able to catch that going upside, but it was not still my number 1 stock, but we were sloppy with it in the middle of the day.
Well, you want to make sure that you trade the right names, because otherwise you're going to get a headache. But the reality of this particular ad is something that I feel pretty passionate about here, because brain health is important, everybody. And OGen, right now, each year, 3.8 million concussions are reported in the U.S. There's no FDA-approved treatment. OGen on the NYSE or Agenix is changing that. First-in-class intranasal drug is designed for rapid brain access. With the concussion treatment market projected to reach $8.9 billion in 2027, Agenix is uniquely positioned to lead the way. Learn more and schedule a meeting today. Scan that QR code you see in front of you. I said it before, I'll say it again. If you got a good idea, create a company to solve a problem, create a company and do so. And if you can make money doing something which is fantastic for the world, more credit to them. Scan that QR code, everybody. I did trade AMD. I went green to red on it for sure and stayed red because I went to Nvidia after the fact. It was a good dip buy. Someone said, how do you determine support and resistance levels before it even gets there? If it hasn't shown, like, this is an idea of support, like it's shown you its support. So I get what you're saying, like this is support on Friday, so you saw 128 hold. So if you went long in the afternoon, it's already held that level. In theory, 130 was just a prior high breakout level turning into support. You're just looking at the level on the chart and guessing on the pullback that a prior significant price level will go from resistance to support. And oddly enough, that same 130, I think if it breaks this back out, like why not? If that was the big level this morning, we break back out 130, I think it looks strong again. I went to Nvidia and took multiple shots at this on the way back down. It did this bottoming tail candle at the low of the day. I was long and stopped out, but suffice to say the stock started going meme crazy, as Sean likes to say, so I punched right back in and played it to VWAP. You could just see the tape. I can't explain it other than to tell you that after it stopped out at this low and made this 142 bottom, when it got back to 142.5 anybody looking at the tape probably would have gone long if you wanted the longs in Nvidia. So I played that to VWAP. I took a breakout trade at the high, couldn't get to 145 again. Nvidia. I think it's pulling back into VWAP as the market holds the high. So I'll be looking at VWAP, Nvidia, or maybe we break that 130 on AMD. Oh, there's one other thing that I wanted to point out, only because you mentioned it. Did you show a chart of SMCI? I don't know if you did.
No.
SMCI down 7% today. This was very clean off the volume weighted average price here for SMCI. So it's a distinct downward trend, and you also go back to like prior resistance or whatever, or support turning into resistance just underneath the 43 level. So that gives you a place that if we bounce, maybe to short back into here on SMCI. I was kind of hoping this would go down 10% then be SSR tomorrow, but still an off chance that it could. Oh, wait a minute. Shoot, I didn't realize SMCI was next. I do this all the time.
Neo.
We're talking chips, and I'm like, oh, I got to make sure we mention SMCI here because it's important. And then, of course, SMCI is on the list. That's how I roll.
Well, all your analysis was right. Now we'll just tell everybody why it's down 7% here, Neil, because they're looking at raising $2 billion in a convertible debt offering here. It's going to be due in 2030. So the size of the offering, is equivalent to about 7.5% of the company's market cap as of right now, guys. So typical, when a company does an offering, the stock sells off. SMCI, no different.
All right, back at you, Aura Alpha. All right. SMCI. All right. Yeah, so, you know, I was saying that there might have been a missed opportunity by not looking over at SMCI today. And it's the same kind of thing when I look back at it again. It's the same levels. Like, you know, you get to some key levels here, and the next thing you know, it's gone, right? And I think that that's something that, you know, we all want to try to look at as much as we can. Key support and resistance levels. Well, this came up to a great resistance level here of $46 to $47 for SMCI. Now it's just dropping back into some more support levels. I think you could buy this level here. We talked about this with Brian Shannon the other day, looking like it was looking like when it was breaking out when I was speaking with him on Tuesday, but again, coffee. Going the other way right now is SMCI. So again, like I'm not too worried about any of the stories necessarily here. I know that if you're going to be playing AI future AI developments and things like that, SMCI is going to be all part of that. It's like Marvell. Marvell's actually down today as well. Looks like it was trying to break through 70. It might do that actually at some point from being at 75 last week. Now remember, we did get some out at 76 or whatever. We talked about that on Thursday when we were here. Maybe it was Friday morning. Because of the move it has up. But we're still long this name, Marvell. I just think it's another piece of the puzzle. Here, you can't always be AMD and Nvidia. I think there's some other players to be had. Dell also in the server side with SMCI, another responsible play, I think, at some point. So, yeah, the big beautiful bill apparently may not get passed until at least July 7th or something we heard there. So I don't know if that's what's sort of helping this market make a move a little down there. But for right now, I think SMCI, I like the stock, and I honestly think it's a buy if we can get, and I might do it. I might take some Marvell money and put it over here. $38 or so into this area. Let's go long SMCI. The story's pretty good. It's the accounting they went through a lot of different issues. So yeah, just another piece of the puzzle here for the AI play, Supermicro.
Yeah, I think, look, I already went over Supermicro. I just wanted to quickly talk about if you saw a volume spike. If you have any scanner out there, you probably just saw what happened to Amgen, because it would have hit your scan. Probably would have hit your scanners if they're actually detecting volume. They announced full results from part 1 of phase 2 study of Maritide. Yeah, so that's. I'm not going to go into the gobbledygook of the results. Anybody can go ahead and read the article if you want, but down 5% on the release of those part 1 of phase 2 studies for Maritide. Now down $10. Actually, still heading downside here is AMGN. So look, I'm looking right now at Nvidia. We'll see if we get down to the volume-weighted average price. I mean, AMD looks good if it can break that 130 level. The other thing that I wanted to come over to, okay, you're still losing on Amgen. While we're on the topic of chips, I was looking through some of the chip names for some relative strength. And ARM stood out a little bit here. Now, it might not do it here today because every single time I point out something like this, it just flat out never happens. And then we sit here waiting for a breakout that doesn't happen that day. But while a lot of the chip names are heading lower, ARM up 2% and in a really nice consolidation. This is just underneath 150 bucks. This local high on the daily, as a matter of fact, this top here, 149.30. That breaks today, I'll look for a long, unless it's the last like 10, 15 minutes of the day. I don't like taking breakouts going into the imbalances, but that looks like a strong stock with a chance to break out on the daily is ARM. So I'm gonna put that one on the back burner. We'll see if maybe it could be a tomorrow thing. I have no idea. Like you could break out in an hour, you could break out on tomorrow, you could break out Thursday, like who knows. As long as it happens this week, I'll take a shot at it. If it happens next week, I won't because I'll be camping. But I do like ARM up 2%. Some relative strength, no questions asked. I just heard Novo Nordisk. And okay, nothing happening there. Anytime I hear something in my ear, I want to make sure we go over to it. Oh, the other thing that's going on, Nvidia might not want VWAP. It's just a line on a chart, however. As much as I like the volume-weighted average price, if it never gets there, this has a chance to break this little downward trend from the high as well. So if you go back into the high, we're along a couple times in there, it's breaking this channel with a 144 local bottom. So if we close this bar above the trend line, then I want to try and take a shot at this off the 144 level here for Nvidia.
Crypto is breaking out right now. Like, let's go IBIT, 103 right now, 103.2 for BTC, breaking through. Look at the 50-period moving average. Like, all you really had to do was, for example, if you go long on that break, then you go short right there, then you probably lose in here, a little choppy, but then you get out when you break back down below, again, below the 50-period, below VWAP and all of that, and then boom, straighten out to the upside. We just had a good hold at 58.50, which was, you know, the past high right there. I really think Bitcoin's being pretty constructive here, getting back to the upside, looking to break even further right now. So yeah, okay. Bitcoin off right now. Let's go find out with Adara maybe what that Novo story was, or let's go see what's going on.
I'm going to give some context here with regards to Amgen. So as mentioned, they came out here with some results for phase 2 study of their obesity drug. It is Maritide. So sounds like the results were pretty positive. The issue here, at least from the POV of investors, seems to be the fact that the drug apparently led to high discontinuation rates in the study. So people were discontinuing taking the drug mid-study. Apparently, as a result, the company is planning to adjust its dosing. So again, here the issue with this AMGN trial seems to be the fact that a lot of patients apparently stopped using the drug during this trial. Now let's get to the market as well, because we do have more commentary coming here with regards to the Middle East. Here is the Nasdaq. Apparently, a senior Iranian official said that Iran has the necessary rationality to begin diplomacy after punishing the aggressor. But if they seek, if they seek negotiations, Israeli and U.S. attacks must stop. So Iran saying that if they decide to go through with negotiations, Israel and the U.S. should stop, I guess, these attacks. Back to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that they want. So I think there it is. I mean, I think that's probably why we do have a little bit of, you know, some of these markets pulling back to the upside right now, as it sounds like they're going to come to the table, you know, which is what obviously everybody, I would think, would want.
I would hope would want.
Right now. So yeah, nice, good story, good news right there for everybody in the Middle East. And hopefully we can get it all settled and the market will continue its extreme upside push that it's been having now, percentage points away now from all-time high. I mean, I guess I could just figure this out. But right here, if these are the Qs and this is the daily, we're at 531 right there. All-time high is 541. So yeah, I mean, we're coming into some areas right now where you're only $11 away on 530. So 53, you're like 2% away or so from all-time highs. So yeah, just a matter of time, I feel like, before we do hit that. And like I said, I had bought over lunchtime some more SPY. So we're pretty lucky to do that as well. AMD, the only, okay, you're in Nvidia now, but AMD was the only position that I've been trading through. Oh, that's not a sell. That is a sell, but I have to cancel some of my higher offers because it just coded there as a short sell. But right there, yeah, just getting some more out here at 50s. We're kind of bouncing around this area. Still hoping for another 130 push there. So if we get that, that's what I'm looking for right now in AMD is that little 130 push. So hopefully we can grab that one more time on advanced micro devices. And we're going to look for some more names for you as well.
Yeah, I was just looking over at oil. We did get into that dip into, well, it's not really the dip into VWAP. It ends up being the trend break. I didn't save the trend line, but I mean, I drew it before. There's something like that. It closed above the trend line. The prior bar is at 144 even, so it's a 15 long, but the prior bar is pretty tight. Only 15 cents worth of risk, but that's a strategy. I'm not holding that all the way to the volume weighted average price. I was just looking down at Indo. I want back into this, short. It's almost red on the day, down at $5. That said, when you look at it on the higher time frame, I feel like you could get another bounce, like 550 to 560. If it's able to bounce here, I want to be able to fade back into INDO. If the market continues higher, it makes a lot of sense that this would stay a short. But the thing that is not really looking like it's part of the afternoon plan anymore is Circle. Yeah, we just lost 250 again and heading lower. So I think I might have mentioned, if I see this really start to break down, I'm looking at Coinbase. Like Coinbase is going to get to this 310 level. And if at the same moment, if I see Circle breaking to the downside and Coinbase can be played off of that 310, that's kind of a tandem trade I'm looking at. But right now, a little bit of relative strength. Coinbase threatening to go green as Bitcoin goes up. Circle doesn't care because it's the stable coin thing and heading to the downside. So that correlation might be gone. I want to see how it reacts if we make a fresh low and start really accelerating. If I start to see any curl on Coinbase, I'd try to jump into that trade. It worked really well, just simply watching a heavy candle earlier on Circle and then punching a short on Coinbase. I want to see if I can pull that off one more time. Is that Michaela saying Voyager? I love that show. Good show. Shout out to Tim Ross, underrated actor. I thought it was strong today, that IPO. It looks like it came back into the lows. It was breaking out earlier today. I thought maybe this one might be going, and that's why you brought it up there, Michaela. But what we were saying about this was we've seen it before where an IPO will catch a little bit of a trend down since the open, lull everybody to a false sense of, hey, forget about it, where it gets out of your mind, and then suddenly makes a nice little rounded bottom and then gets going. It's not exactly what CoreWeave did, but because CoreWeave had a bounce and then like a gentle move that ended up holding the low. But once it did this, see what it did here, where it kind of makes a low, puts in a higher low, and then just consolidates? It's the break of the consolidation that should interest you when you see that. So I think Voyager's in that stage of trying to find a bottom, but it's when everybody forgets about it that maybe you want to take a shot. So I just wait for it to make a low. It hasn't done so yet. The only new position for me was getting that trend break on Nvidia, and we'll go back to the desk with Adara. We've got some more news.
Yeah, so you guys hear the story with NVIDIA. I know this was mentioned that, yeah, you guys heard it in your ear. So basically, apparently the company's Ozempic has received EU recommendation in peripheral arterial disease. So we know this is usually used for obesity and for diabetes. Now, apparently, it's been receiving a EU recommendation for peripheral arterial disease. Apparently, the European Commission is expected to finalize the update in 2 months. And there's also a similar application under review in the US. We're likely to hear more about that during Q4 2025. Additionally, keep an eye on the market here. We have comments coming through from Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on trade with the US. Carney said that the right deal with the US is possible, but that nothing is assured. Back to you.
Get it, Mark.
Yeah, he's going to figure something out there, as we had said a couple times. I was thinking about taking the short in the futures. So I do have an order if we break through 30 right here. This is it's the TQs anyways. I know it's a little bit different than the futures, but there it is right there. This little level right there is 74.15. I just like, if we break below, this is 37s, I actually wanted to use a break of 30. So this little wick right into there. I know we're going to be running into that, but I just want to use the 50 period as our stop. So if I do wind up getting stopped out, that's where sort of the punishment stops, I guess. If it does come back up and break through 74.60, sorry. So play the momentum on a little bit of a move down. The Nasdaq being up 1% today seems unrealistic, but it is. So whatever, we're not going to fight any worries here on the oil front or the Nasdaq or anything like that. Oil continues to push lower, even close now at 230, but still making moves down into after hours on NYMEX here. So there's the move to the downside here on CL. So just keeps on getting lower, man. Down 7% right now, $68. Like looks like we're trying to break even lower than this right here into 64, 50-period moving average down to 62. So if you gassed up today or yesterday, you're going to probably see a little bit of a different price in the upcoming days as we continue to go downside there in oil. So I don't know, oil week, I was thinking about a bounce. If it does bounce, I could see the equity market pulling back a little bit. Right now, the Nasdaq's not doing anything. We're short TQs if it breaks 74.30. Tesla, same kind of a story. I said we'd like the long back into here, 345. That's not coming through. Eli Lilly was up to 815 or so last week, maybe even a little bit higher now this week. Today, down to 770 right now. Yeah, there it was, 820 and change, 825, 830 last week. And then 4 or 5 straight down days right now for Eli Lilly, coming right back into this level. So I had bought in here, actually I bought right here at 750, looking to pick up some more down here near $7 But yeah, nice little downside push there for Eli Lilly. We did hear Amgen and a few other things coming through there today. So XBI, always trying to think about some of the tech space there, the biotech. I like XBI here as well. And then also, we did hear from this morning, different plays that ARK has been doing. ARK has been on a nice little run, but, their best days are behind them. The thing is hopefully they're going to be in front of them. But, we've seen ARK Innovation, this is Kathy Wood's ETF, go through some nice ups and downs and peaks and valleys here. But you are getting pretty close to breaking out right here. It's the $70 mark. You can go on Kathy's ARK. You can figure out all the different positions that she has, share sizes and all of that. So you can mimic or pay her to 2 or whatever percent points to do it for you. But nicely cooking right now is Kathy's ARK with the innovation ETF. It looks like you're going to get some sort of a death cross here, 50 in the 200, starting to break upside right now. Definitely upsloping 50 period, 200 probably turning around. ARK looks pretty good, especially that's why we went from Tesla over here. We know what she likes, and it's all these names. So the Palantirs of the world. What was the big one that she had just recently bought? Robinhood, Circle today, or over
Circle was the newest one. Only 0.75% the management fee. Not
0.75%. Well, that seems pretty cheap. There must be something else hidden.
Yeah,
there,
well, that's just that's ARK. I don't know if they're all the same. That's RK. Maybe they're a little bit different. Don't at me. That's the one I looked up because that's what Sean was looking at. Let's go. First of all, before we go up to Adara, let's just acknowledge that Microsoft is super strong. Microsoft is amazing. It's bull flagging right now. What I'd be concerned about is this is the exact same flag the futures have. Microsoft loses this. I think you can come back in. Let's go to Adara at the desk.
This part of the show is brought to you by our friends at PropXP. Level up your trading game with PropXP. Up to 1 to 200 leverage and static drawdown. Scroll the site and pick your challenge at propxp.com. Trade directly on our platform. Sign up, try it for free, and start your trading journey. Enjoy rapid payouts and real human support. No bots. Rated 4.6 stars on Trustpilot, trusted by traders worldwide. So right now, you can get 50% off with code TraderTV. Link is in the description. Be the trader. Get funded. Join PropXP today. PropXP, your edge starts here. Visit propxp.com. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Adara. Just a quick update. The only thing we took on was that Nvidia breaking the trend. Prior bar was 144. In at 15s. It got to 1-to-1. We took some out. And if it breaks 144, I'm going to be out. At this point, if it breaks 144, unless my stop doesn't work, it should be a flat trade there because we're able to get some profits out. The other thing I'm looking on over at, okay, let me actually finish the thought on NVIDIA because the daily chart needs to get mentioned for NVIDIA. This has been holding at this level, 145-ish, for 2 weeks now, where you've had breaks of 145 almost every single day, and then failures above that level. Today, it doesn't even break the 145. So it's short-term bearish if we never get to that price. The last time it didn't happen, we had like a pretty pretty nasty down day, and it was able to at least break out from it. But if we can't break that 145, I might get like short-term, look for a short off of it back into 140 or something. But I wanted to go over to Alphabet because I had, look, when the market caught that bid off the lows, I actually traded Palantir once and traded Nvidia off the lows, but that was actually short Alphabet as well. So gave some of those longs back off the lows, shorting Alphabet. The reason I was shorting Alphabet and kind of looking at it for another short here, down 1.8%. At no point has this stock looked good today. Well, okay, fine, maybe there was a little moment earlier on, but relative to the market, when the market was at the top, this was at the lows. And ever since Friday, this has been bleeding back down. The opening range top, 164. There's your bottom. It's starting to curl off of this level as we speak. So I want to play this one to the south side. Allow now to get to that 64, use that as an out, and play back into the high. Relatively strong, relatively weak stock. At least for the last couple of sessions, there was a security breach on Friday that caused it to be relatively weak. Now it's losing the 50-period moving average on the daily. Not a great sign there for Alphabet. You show the relative strength in Microsoft. Amazon doing incredibly well. Just a few things working against Google at the moment. Weakest of the Mag 7 names by, easily. Not even close. Not even sure any other ones are down. No. Don't at me. I don't think any of the rest are down.
Unless Meta is. Apple.
Oh, no, Amazon's down 0.2.
Right, I was going to say Apple, I know, broke a little bit. So we are in right now. Fire off. Hold on a second, we'll do this. Right now, may not work. Who knows? We're in a new position right now. The TQs does break our 30 level. We get short at 30, so I don't know, good fill, I guess. So we're going to wait to see if we break 57, which is 60, good enough to me. So if we get upside on that, we're gonna tap ourselves out of our TQQ position, averaging it up. We'll take a little bit more. Right now we have about 2 units. We'll take 2 more units as we get closer to 50 and then stop out at 60. We can get a little more aggressive because our stops are pretty close to where we're in right now. Looking for a pullback, that would be 73.80. I always take something out at 74. So again, that's 1-to-1. If we're gonna go 30 cents, we need something at 74. I don't necessarily trade things 1-to-1, but if it was, then that would be there 74, and then we'll wait for 73.80 and maybe a push down here in the market to close out this trading day. We still have an hour to go, but let's go over to it. And because we went short on the futures, we have been getting out more and more of our AMD. So we just got out a couple more steps. There we go, another step out at 30. A couple more steps out here on AMD as it looks like it's trying to break a little lower as well. So just trying to stop out of these things really slowly here as we wait to see what's gonna happen. There's your first call right here by me on the afternoon on a new position, shorting the TQQs, which is the Nasdaq as well. So, all right, Adair, what you got for us?
Keep an eye here on some of these health insurance names. HUM, UNH, and CVS all dropping here. And it has to do with the Health and Human Services announcement with regards to prior authorization. So prior authorization, just for some context here, or pre-authorization, it's a process used by certain health insurance companies, basically to help them determine if they're going to cover a prescribed procedure, service, or medication. Now we have a note coming from the Health and Human Services Department, or HHS, with its Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator, Mehmet Oz, or Dr. Oz. Basically, they're pledging to reduce the volume of medical services subject to prior authorization by January 1st, 2026. So basically, I guess limiting the amount of services that these health insurance companies are able to use pre-authorization with. So keep an eye on these names to the downside with that note. Back to you.
Well, I think everybody can get behind that. You can't spin that as bad for the everyday person, but not necessarily going to be good for UNH, Humana, and any of the names in that space. But I don't know that I see a trade in any of those. I think really the one that most people might be remotely interested in. Whoops! I just went to Blue Ocean. It's not the evening yet, so you don't have to look at the Blue Ocean markets, which we have entitlements to, and we can trade now here at Real Trading in addition to OTC Moon. But UNH, it's still in sleep mode. As long as it can hold about 280, it's in this consolidation from the wipeout bottom. So it's not that bad for anyone that took those, like little buy the dip. You never got better than like 320 on those lows, but it's still holding some support for UNH. Unless it breaks 280, I think it's still looking pretty solid. I'd want it breaking 320 into the 50-period moving average is a nice little target, but 1% is not gonna, that's not gonna exactly move the needle on UNH. I mean, we've seen this thing go absolutely ham before. Probably a good sign that it's not falling any further than it is. So got this little curl, waited for some higher lows, back into 164. It failed 164, sorry, lower highs. Failed 164 Google. Didn't quite get it here, but it just consolidated underneath 163.8 and jumped some in here at 66 or 65.5 is my actual price. And that rounds up. I see Steve Duran saying circles squeezing. I was skeptical that it was going to be strong this afternoon, but it bounces again off the 350 level. It's just been so much. When I pull it up, what's the way to think? It feels different. Like when it was rallying earlier today, or when it was rallying on Friday, there was more volume. As you can see, not doing quite as much volume as it did on Friday. There was more velocity, as I guess is the word I'm looking for. There's more velocity in the tape, and I'm not necessarily seeing that same thing. So unless you can see that start to happen or break away from VWAP, there's nothing wrong with just grabbing circle after it starts breaking out in the afternoon. You don't have to be early to this move if it's going to go. But I wouldn't want to be chasing it when it's underneath VWAP. It just doesn't feel as strong as it did before. But the long hasn't been wrong on the stock most of the time. I'm just not feeling as good as I was a lot earlier. Yeah, I just don't feel it that. Not really feeling circle this afternoon. Might be more of a Coinbase thing if I can catch this going into that 310. It just can't seem to get there. There we go. Like that 310 resistance spot, put them in a little head and shoulders, Friday's highs. I want to see it try to get in. If we get a reversion off that, break trend, head back lower, or maybe it can clean break out the top. But I'll wait for it to get to that price on Coinbase. A little more active, at least this afternoon.
Yeah, not much happening on this side. We, like I had mentioned to you guys, we were into this trade, and nothing going on right now for the futures. So pass on that. There was a name. I was looking at the chat, and I was wondering there was another name that Palantir. I want to talk about. Nah, Palantir is always the same. There was something there. It wasn't Robinhood, JP Morgan, no, AMD. I was just kind of looking like, if we're going to look at the watch list here, we talked about different names doing different things. SMCI right now down, 8%, Marvell down 4%, Oxy. Oh, that's what it was, SMR. Okay, so, like last week, I catch flack for this a little bit in the chat, but it's, just telling people what I think. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be happening or anything like that. But, I had said and I remember justifying it to myself. I was like, what the heck? We went up there. We got some out of SMR, I remember at 30. Then I think we got some again at 36. And then again at, I think it was 44 or something on this day when this was happening. And then I was like, we did the math and we're like, well, my average price to get out was something around like 36, 37. And now you're back into this area again. I really think that, a lot of this nuclear stuff, although, it will power the future and there is lots of upside potential in all of these names, Oklo, SMR, all of them. And it's just the same thing with Rigetti and some of the quantum names. But I do feel pretty bubblish about a lot of these names. So as we start to come back in, these 3 big candles in a row here does not surprise me at all. These companies don't make money. So, I had to champion Palantir for a while when it went from, $9 where we got in up to 40, then back down to 7 again, only to be now a $140 stock. I do think SMR has capabilities of doing that, and they've already sort of done that if you look at sort of the up and down that we've had on a new scale, which of course is SMR. I mean, this just back in January of 2024 was $1. So you went up to $44 there. That's decent. You just had to believe in the name, right? And same thing, like I was saying, there's the IPO at 11, goes down to 1, right? Goes from 11 up to 16, back to 1, up to 11, back to 4, up to 16, back to 6. I mean, you can see what's happening here. Up, back in, up. Now, how far we go back in, that's still to be determined, but I would think at least back here makes some sense to me. I think $30 for SMR is probably where we're going, and then we wait to see, even if they don't make money next time around. I'm not sure how much that's even really going to matter if they make money or not. But right now, SMR is pulling back in, so that's just another name to watch out for. We've had it on our sticky note and our watch list a couple times for shorts. We didn't have it today, but $40, $41 for SMR, I think is decent. You know, I keep seeing Oklo and stuff like that in the news, catching upgrades and all that, and they're still down 7% with a very, very similar move back in. And if we're going to use 30 for SMR, then it's coming in a little bit closer to that, 47, 48 for Oklo, and then back down into here, 35, 36. So I would just say watch out for any time we're too far away from the 50-period moving average. You're just a couple downgrades away from this kind of happening. So there goes Oklo right now, back into the 50-period. Would not surprise me. That's $39 coming through again.
Meanwhile,
go ahead. No, I was going to say our futures trade, we may just wind up out. Okay, there it is. So perfect. We've averaged into it. If this breaks 74.60, then we're gone. We're pretty close to that. I thought downside here into the close. You know, looks like we'll be wrong on that one, but you know, the most this ever went in the money for us was about 10 cents, where it was barcoding forever. And I was just waiting for that break. Just didn't happen. So there we go, upside, there we go, stopped out there while breaking through 60s. Now stopped out as there it goes, man, right back to the highs goes the future. So if we like the short, maybe it's right here at the futures high instead of averaging into it. But yeah, there it goes, man, bye-bye. SPX popping off for sure.
Yeah, I cover the Nvidia long, and I'm going to lose on the Google short, the Alphabet short, I should say, as that just broke at the top. But you were talking about, I have to point this out because we just broke out there. VWAP's going to sit here 164.5. So if I still like the short, I have to wait until it gets to the next key level. Be patient. You're still in a bit of an upward trend. But just another note about the nuclear names. We're talking about SMR and the names that don't make money. Well, Vistra, they're all pulling back, but Vistra is actually still in an upward trend. If you go to Constellation, still in an upward trend. As a matter of fact, close to breaking out of a resistance level. And then you go to GE Vernova. This one is still, man, it cannot break $500 a stock. It's frustrating. Keep asking myself. Some people say never sell in front of in front of highs, and it's tempting to do so when you see things like this. But my point is, the companies that make money, that have the upside in nuclear, are still holding their strength. The pullback is occurring in the frothy names right now, which is not, in my opinion, it's not a good sign for them. Usually they're all going in the same direction. Like when these are all poised to be breaking out resistance, maybe in the next couple of days, you're pulling back in SMR. I don't necessarily like that, but yeah, one of these is going to break first. All three of them at major resistance levels. And just as we had gotten out of Nvidia, right at 64, I told you where my stop was going to be. And when it broke the trend, the prior bar, it breaks the prior bar, and then a minute later, or 3 minutes later, 2 minutes later, whatever it might be, we just went right back into the upside. So it looks like Nvidia is still holding strength. Could have been wrong about Circle, as the volume is picking up, and it's at the volume-weighted average price. Get above VWAP. If it gets above VWAP, it's either a 275 clean break or maybe a 270 breakout on Circle. We've seen what this can do in the afternoon. Maybe not as crazy as CME, but if this one can get going above the volume-weighted average price, it's like 20, it turned at $30. It could do anything if it breaks 275. Maybe it only goes to 280, 285, but with that 300 top in sights, you know the shorts are emboldened when it held underneath VWAP. And I know there's some shorts that are in here, and they're probably added here, and then some new ones are going to come in. So if you break that 275, there's a lot of stops that are going to get run on this. I'm waiting for Google to get to VWAP or for Circle to break out above it. One of those two should happen. Bishwajit in the chat, opinions on CoreWeave for a long. Let's call it up. I know you called it up a little bit earlier. I'm assuming we're talking about like a swing or long term and not necessarily the day trade. If I'm wrong, then just let me know in the chat. CoreWeave, for myself, I can't think of ever going long something which is this disconnected. It's basically just sort of squeezing higher at this point. Like you're up so much, so fast, that buying it for any kind of a long term up here, I can't get behind. Throw on top of that the fact that it, on a 15-minute, this looks like not a capitulation day, but at least a reversal day, that it would have to close back above 176, like this prior high, to not be a bearish reversal type day, which is not where I'd want to be buying this. So it almost looks the other direction. Like if I was in this long, today would have given me a bunch of reasons to sell it. And certainly if it closes underneath 176, I'd be short term getting out if I owned a long position in this. Just feel like it's too far too fast. Maybe you get like a breakout above VWAP for a day trade. I think Circle breaking out would help drag this along. So Circle can break out above VWAP. You probably get a sympathy here on CoreWeave, but I don't necessarily like the buy on that stock. You know, it's a momentum play, and it really had a huge reversal on that daily chart. I think you got to let it settle for a bit.
All right, futures starting to fall back in a little bit. We did get stopped out of a little bit of that trade there at 60s. You know, trying to use the high of the day now of 75. As the short. I still do believe in the short there, but yeah, too bad that first look did not work out for us. Intel's very similar, man, right near that high again. Nasdaq, I'm having a hard time believing that this name wants to stay up, but you know, it doesn't really, like I keep saying, it doesn't really matter what I believe. AMD, we did not get stopped out of that one, and it's right back now above the 50-period moving average. So there we go. We'll punch some out now at 67 and just get some more out here because it looks like we were wrong. I was wanting to get out of the short because we were under the 50-period. We blew higher than that on the futures. We're blowing higher than that right now on AMD. AMD outpacing the market again here today. So far, so good here on this advanced micro devices long of 54 cents. We're just in this and the TQs. We covered a little bit of those TQ trade, but other than that, nothing else going on right here. What's up with Adara?
But on some of these satellite-related plays like ASTS or VSAT, an executive from T-Mobile is announcing that their T-Satellite network is going to go live in a month from today, July 23rd. Also saying that over 1.8 million customers have signed up for this T-Satellite network. So keep an eye on VSAT and ASTS. TMUS, for its part, is really strong here. It's at day's highs. Back to you.
All right,
thanks, Adara. Yeah. I was just looking over some other names. If there's anything that's popping off on anybody's scanners, there's really not much doing a ridiculous amount of volume in here. Like I looked over at Indo, I knew that I wanted that one short. Ever since oil futures closed, I guess predictably so, maybe I shouldn't expect Indo to move anymore. It's completely sideways. I thought this might be a bit of an afternoon pop and fade. That's just not happening. I see Stango Mango mentioning CVX. That's sort of along the lines of INDO with oil futures closing. It's not doing a lot of volume, but at least it's bouncing here. These guys took it on, look, all these energy names took it on the chin. These are all really bad candles. XLE, CVX, XOM. On the daily chart, these all stink. And I own XOM in my long-term account. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've been a big buyer of it. As a matter of fact, I shifted to my buying in the space is now in XLE. It used to be CVX. Now it's in the index. But this is an ugly-looking candle on the daily where you simultaneously fail a prior high and are going to close underneath. Well, you're going to engulf the entire last 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and you're going to close under the 200-period moving average. A lot of longs got trapped on the oil names, and that's not a very good look. I'm not saying you got to bail out of these, but I wouldn't be a buyer for a hot minute on energy, especially when you got the strikes you wanted and you didn't get the reaction you wanted.
Yeah, no.
Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Nobody wanted strikes. It's just that if you're long oil, the conflict was good for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I mean, that's
nobody
what everyone thought. But you know, we always think those type of things. Then the next thing you know, the market goes the other way and has a completely different idea. So I don't know. That was sort of my thinking here with trying to go short. The short's not been right, but that was the thinking. And I guess until we're wrong, we're right. So I don't know, but we were already wrong once here on these futures. Coinbase, wow, 308 again here today. So huge move today for Coinbase. Just off the bottom, I mean, it's flat on the day, but, you know, up to 314, back down to 296. And what a day it's been here for crypto as well. Up to 103 right now and looking to get higher and higher goes, the crypto space into today. So, yeah, just big movements. You know, we talked about ETHA. Well, we actually didn't do that, but this is an ETF that I kind of been looking at here, ETHA, over the last little bit as far as a new one. We always look at IBIT, but if you're looking at Ethereum, this could be something, you know, that you would know about, and it's been a good name so far to go short with this year, but I don't know, nice little level there, 21 bucks. It's really pulled back here as well, $21, $22 right there for ETHA, looking to do a little bit of damage here. Upside is Ethereum, but we just faded off of that 21.50 area. So that's making a move on the way back in. I mean, I wanted to look a little bit here at CoinMarketCap and just see what was going on with some of these names. Yeah, so XRP, I don't think that's right, 205. Let me just update this quickly here, just make sure the Bitcoin price is right. Yeah, so 103 O's coming in. So Ethereum 2,300, you guys know, I mean, whatever, I've been buying Bitcoin, so I don't know, like net. The last time we bought Bitcoin was 105. We bought some 103s as well. That's come back. Yeah, so XRP is down there at 205. So down 12% over the week, up 5% today. We talked some positive news there about XRP. Solana also up 7, but down 12. Same thing with Cardano, down 15. So some of these names just continue to get hit here. And Bitcoin is really the one that continues to work for itself. High side right there is Bitcoin. So I really like the way that IBIT's moving around as opposed to everything else. Just seems to play with the king and you'll be fine. Kind of like Nvidia and things like that. If you're in the right names, you should be okay. But that's Ethereum and ETHA, and then IBIT for IBIT. You know, it's not necessarily, I thought with all this tension, we could even be higher. And I know there's a lot of us hoping that there would have been new all-time highs hit at some point here for IBIT. We're kind of pulling back, man. I don't know, the chart doesn't look the greatest, but as long as we can hold this 50-period moving average, probably okay, and that looks like that was in and around 101. So we did get a dip down yesterday into 98, but of course IBIT didn't trade there, not open. But yeah, I don't...
It's a beautiful day.
I like IBIT here today. It's just, you know, we got to wait for it to come back in a little bit. I want to buy more at 100, basically 100,000, I think. But
my biggest problem with Bitcoin is once you get accustomed to only buying, I only ever buy the deep dips anymore.
Yeah.
I'll throw orders at the big levels and I'll just get swept up on the way down. And now that it's come to a daily chart here, I have my trading view up. Now that we've kind of failed this 109, my spot is any break of 95 in front of 91, buy at 92, 93. You know, it's just since this daily chart's been up, the only places I bought is on the way back down into this prior high and then into the other prior high in front of the 73 level. I think I got like 70. Well, whatever. It was a 69 at the end of what I bought in front of 76. But like at the end of the day, I think being patient with it and buying holding makes sense. But IBIT, today's chart looks fantastic. All right, Google does not want to break trend, so I think it's going to get into VWAP. You can see it trending up. It technically didn't break the trend line here, so that was a bit impatient. But if it gets to the volume weighted average price or breaks the trend line, that's the only way I should be getting into this another time. IBIT's chart looks fantastic. It's a wipeout bottom at the most obvious critical level that you could imagine. That's not in the 90s, that 100 almost on a dime. But I'm just like everything else. Where is the volume on it this afternoon? Like I feel with this chart, usually. Let's just buy the first available dip. Let's contemplate some breakouts. It's doing absolutely none of that. So I can't really want to trade this. I have my order if Circle can break out above VWAP, but unless I see VWAP, Google, Circle breakout above VWAP, there's not too much that's catching my attention here. Sean B saying TDOC was a hype party. When was the last time anybody said Teladoc was a hype party?
I think it was going crazy today, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, see, there's something going. Wow. Yeah, 11%. I don't remember what the news is. If somebody remembers offhand. Teladoc might be on the verge of something. Somebody likes it at... See, whenever I see this, when is the acquisition coming? Like who? I don't know. Somebody likes this under $7 and has been holding it at that price. and then it starts breaking out. Then you hear somebody accumulated a bunch. Next thing you know, there's an acquisition a month or two down the line. I'm not saying that's what happens. Usually there's a few hints in the options market, which I'm not paying attention to. So you can ask Joey Options for that. But that's an obvious buy. I wish we looked at Teladoc a little bit more. That's a great looking chart. It needs to break $8. And the algos are absolutely, this is an algo move, 100%. Let me just double check. Just in case a crazy topping tail candle happens, we have free locates on this. So if I saw this go from already like program parabolic to a stupid candle that fails an obvious level, I might just take a quick little reversion shot this afternoon. We're well into power hour, and that just seems like a program buy. And you know what happens when they turn programs off. You can get these quick scalp trades, but I'm not chasing this up here. Someone's going to buy this company for sure, because they probably have a great database, and there's probably a lot there that someone could take advantage of.
All right, yeah, I mean, I think that's something that you want to look at is those sort of flattening out, then all of a sudden volume hits into it, and then you're like, okay, good look on that one, and maybe the options chain could be something for that as well. So, just like real quick here, the futures are maybe doing its thing again, where it kind of doesn't want to go down. I don't know, like I'm trying to get out. We got some out here in the mid 40s again on this play. We're short at 64s. We did get stopped out there. We bought some back. So now it still needed to come down in. We should have noticed that we were in a little bit of trouble there when we weren't breaking a little bit lower. Is HIMS doing anything right now? Good look on TDOC. And again, it's like, this is kind of, what you're looking for. Consolidate, break through, and then the news continues higher. Same kind of thing happened here, except we rejected it. Now you get back in on HIMS. So we'll have to see if this wants to even pull even further back in right now for that one. We talked about Eli Lilly a little bit, Robinhood, SMR. I mean, I'm just showing you on some of the alerts that I'm looking at here. Nvidia maybe moving around a little bit. Yeah, that's
down.
Yeah, just coming back in there on the 200 period moving average. So that would be a look there. I'm assuming it's the same look on Amazon as that's hitting the scanners as well right there. Yep, 200 period moving average right there. And then I'm going to assume Robinhood is probably the same. I don't know why that, just 5 period moving average, I guess, I don't know. But anyways, Robinhood also down 2 and a bit percentage points here as we try to get a little lower now in the market. Maybe we're going to be right on a little bit of a Nasdaq push lower here. So we're still short that name, and we did cover some more AMD up there. All right, so what else you guys want to look at? Yeah, TDOC's going. BBAI, what's up, Manny Fresh? I called you out last week for this fresh. Yeah, we're almost back into the money now on Big Bear AI. Another 2.5% today would be nice, but again, just kind of right back to where we were. We've already been up here. We're waiting for news on this name. Again, I like the stock. We talked about this in Webull and kind of just like longer shots here. So Big Bear AI at 20% something, short float. Contract with Department of Defense. Definitely an interesting name here, Big Bear AI. So I'm going to wait. The more I hear about Pentagon, the more I hear about, all these sort of nuclear plays and data, and I like Big Bear AI, so I don't know. But okay, here we go. Finally, let's go. A little bit of a move down. I'm waiting at 26s here for the futures. Okay, 26, there it is. Yes, did we get it? I think we did. Yes, we did, so that's a good one right there. Let's go. Nice move there for us. Yes, that was good, man. We needed that move to come back in there for the Nasdaq. So there it goes. Finally back in. We do want to get out a little bit ahead of 20s. So you saw me just get 26s there. Reason why we're happy is like sometimes you don't get those fills and then this kind of pops up and then I get nervous and I punch out. So right now, at least we got some of that. That was a decent amount. That was for 15%. So we'll cover a little bit. Now we'll wait till we get back in. We still have 75% of this trade, looking for it to come back. TDOC's still going up, Neil, so maybe your buyout rumor.
Crazy. No, I'm just speculating because
no, I'm just making that up, but it's not going crazy.
The only reason we say that,
nice
and you've probably heard us say this with other names before, like a lot of times when you see levels like that on a daily chart, like it's not a coincidence. Like a downward trend gets halted like this, someone's usually in an accumulation phase. That's all. And when the price is telling you something, it's not the worst to listen to it. That said, Yeah, Joe just mentioned to me in the chat, nothing outstanding relative to the rest of the open interest. 750 has little size on T-Doc, so maybe there isn't that much crazy action. I thought maybe you'd be a little bit more options action. And I'll tell you this, not that they ever seem to catch anybody for this, but when you see something like that and it is like maybe a buyout or something along those lines, typically speaking, it doesn't happen without some spikes in activity. Options activity. You usually see a spike in volume because, you know, big deals or any deal, really someone knows something, and, you know, seems like no one ever goes to jail for it. It doesn't really matter. We got to VWAP on Alphabet, stopped out of the last. We'll try to get that back if it can pull back into the 163.5 zone where we entered before. We had to let this glide back into the volume weighted average price, which it did, or just maybe 10 cents shy of that. And as mentioned, that Teledoc, it might have just done that parabolic candle. I kind of thought maybe you'd go to $8 with a candle higher and then look for a reversal. Instead, randomly $7.80, and you're seeing it pull back. So my idea was you get one of these candles that's just outsized, failing a breakout, but it never got to $8. If you took this short, I mean, I can't think of a reason why I would have shorted it randomly at $7.80 here. I would have wanted maybe a little bit more strength back into $8. It just didn't really happen. But I think we're looking in the right spot for some volatility. So if you guys see anything else that's popping off, I'm still looking down at Circle. It's got a chance. It broke 260, so I canceled my breakout order at 268. You know, once it starts breaking down support, I'm not going to leave a stop order in there because maybe you forget it, and that would be nasty. But now it's starting to bounce back above. So if we can close above 265, I'll throw my breakout order back in and try and get a scalp trade this afternoon to the long side in Circle. So we got back into Google. We're still waiting for Circle to make a power move, and we're going to the desk with Adara.
Just be aware here, I'm seeing some reports here. Apparently, U.S. military officials, according to Al Jazeera, are saying that the Pentagon is providing options to President Donald Trump should he decide to respond to Iranian attacks. So again, Al Jazeera reporting that U.S. military officials are letting them know that the Pentagon is providing Trump some options should he decide to retaliate, I guess, against the Iranian attacks earlier today. Back to you.
Okay. Yeah, so I feel like, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say like the worst, like to comment on like the worst is behind us or anything like that. Like I have no idea what to expect as far as the market is concerned. You know, a name, we just talked a little bit about Big Bear AI. Another name would be Palantir. You know, again, just not like a warmongering name or anything like that, but definitely a name that gets talked about when we talk about defense and weaponizing. And I mean, Alex Karp has, you know, talked about going on the attack numerous times. Of course, CEO of Palantir, CEO and founder of Palantir. I love founder-led companies. That's another thing, another big reason why we're still into Palantir. So anyways, yeah, you know, a good name, but just like the market, it looks like it's trying to break lower. I mean, underneath the 50, underneath VWAP, holding out strength actually at the 200 period. So maybe we'll take it back that this name's about to tank because it looks like we're trying to buy this up at the 200. Was kind of, you know, okay there, bought up there a little bit, and we're right back at it at 139 for PLTR. But if I think the market's going to break lower, which I do, then this is not going to be a name for me. But Palantir just a couple dollars away from its all-time highs right now. And yeah, a good level upside. It's 322 right now, by the way, as we get on and on here, on and on and on and on and on again. In the market and the time as we have entered power hour. But unfortunately, the market doesn't really realize what hour it is because it's at the same levels it's been at since 12:30. Scratch that, this is an hour behind because it's Chicago, but since 1:30. So we've been doing nothing here for 2 hours, basically, except for try to break lower. This was the level that I'm waiting for the break, hoping that that comes through. You know, that's the move that we're waiting for right now on the futures. I'm giving it a little bit more room, taking a little bit less shares, trying to give it a little bit more room. So that's what we're doing here against 22, basically 22.1, the high of the day. If we break through there, then that will be the stop out for me on the Nasdaq, which of course is TQQs for me. Anyways, breaking right up there, 74.80. I do want to get a little shorter on this, so that's what we're waiting for, is to get a short up there again. But again, with only 25 minutes left before the imbalances come out, well, I'll scratch that, 35 minutes left. I don't know if that trade's going to be there or not. You know, T-Doc up there at $8 was probably a good trade. Micron, I heard Sharif mention, I think this was the strongest. Not sure about Broadcom or not, but he was mentioning Micron was one of the strongest ones year to date.
Oh, year to date. I thought you meant today.
Yeah, no, Micron's down today, but year to date, Micron's really cruising upside. But again, like, doesn't this, I mean, this looks like it wants to break lower right there. We've been getting out of our AMD. We have only 10% left, actually less, much less than 10% left. What am I talking about? Because we got those fills up there as well. How about a break right here? If we break, yeah, 129, that's where already where I'm in. So yeah, if we break 129, we're gonna get out of AMD. Let's even do that just right there. Yeah, 129.08. That's flat. So, okay, we're gonna wait for 129 break on advanced micro devices. We don't have nearly as many shares on AMD as we do right now on the TQQs. So we have about, honestly, like 15 more times the shares on the Nasdaq on this trade than we do on AMD. So that's what I'm waiting for. Hopefully it comes through. It's been a relatively slow afternoon. I mean, that's why you got to look at
T-Doc's moving more than anything right now.
Yeah, I was gonna look at what, like Archer Aviation. I'm just trying to find some names. If there's anything else you guys want us to look at there, more than happy to do that. There's Archer not doing anything. QBTS, you know, my sort of, I don't want to say hatred for the quantum because I don't hate them, but you know, for a negative move down, I think we'll watch out for some quantum plays tomorrow on my radar for some more red on that, because we did get back up into $15 again, and we may still do that again right now on QBTS. But doesn't this look like it wants to break and gap fill down here as well? So these are some of the levels that we're talking about. $11, $12 on QBTS. You know, we've been calling this top for a minute. So, you know, pretty happy with this move back in from 1850 all the way down. Just like SMR, I hold shares on that, not as many anymore, but we've been selling at the top of those plays as well. And then I did not pull the trigger on Uber today. And I'm not just saying that because it's up. I actually didn't even know it was up. I was just trying to think about some other names to talk about. But this, I'm a little nervous about the Robotaxi kind of play and seeing these tops again. You know, we didn't get out right there at $83, and that kind of bothered me right there. Then it hit again and came back in. And I said to myself, next time we break into this area, we'll probably sell something. But then we didn't, and it got up to $94. So I am going to put an order. You know, probably tonight. I want to review a few things. I want to get. My cash is just kind of sitting around. I want to put into like a high yield savings account type of thing, just so it's sitting there for a minute so I can deploy it when necessary. But I don't really want to deploy new cash yet. I did this a little bit more today. But if Uber can come in into $86, that's going to be a level for me, and that's pretty much right there. I don't know what you think about Uber, but for me, it's like
Uber's a hold for me. I'm not doing anything with my wishes. By the way, I got a weird trigger. Call it lucky. On Circle, you'll see I have 67.94. It was a breakout trade. Like, I had a stop order breaking out, but sometimes what ends up happening is in the moment that it's breaking, as 268 breaks, somebody's also on the sell key, like right away, dumping it in. So I did take the breakout trade. It'll be hard to see because it's the scaling on this. There you go. I'll zoom it in. Like, it broke out, it just rejected 270 like an absolute brick wall. So if I'm taking a breakout trade, I want it to go right away. Chalk it up, it'll end up being a flat trade. It might have made like a few shekels on it, but more or less a flat trade on that breakout. It went the initial buck and then immediately goes right back underneath. It's just not the same as it was before. Like on Friday, like if you were trading this any of the last couple of days, I feel like when it was breaking out a level, it was never looking back. And the second I start seeing it, like it's right back underneath at 67, it just doesn't have the same velocity as it does. So, you know, I was wrong about it the last time I played a breakout that way, but this time feels a little bit different for Circle. I'm looking over at CoreWeave as well, CRWV. I say CRWV because I typo it if I don't say it out loud to myself. It just helps me. And I see this at the same moment starting to break down. There's just not as much juice in these things. It's really just these two. I'm not really sure if there's another IPO that's done what these guys have been doing, but it just doesn't seem like there's the same amount of strength. I don't mind taking a shot in it, but I don't want to get stubborn about Circle. It's just not flying. Like the second it was over, there was a stacked offer at 270. And then there was sellers like all the way down, walking it back under 268. And you've got to keep in mind all of the different time frames that you've got going on here. Like there's probably some 150 to 160 longs that are that are trailing out on some of these moves and asking themselves when they should get out. Then you might have some longs from Friday that bought the dip that are worried about the 300 and they're like, oh, should I get out this afternoon? They're all up like the Friday longs are up like 25, 30% depending on where you got them. And some of the longs from earlier are up way more than that. So I think you've got a group of sellers on multiple time frames that are just starting to slow this move down. And I think you have to run through some of that selling before this can get going again, unfortunately. So yeah, kind of a flat trade on that breakout. Disappointing. I mean, not exactly flat, but close enough to it that I'll call it flat.
Right, Tesla. Oh yeah, Tesla. I've been still looking to see if anybody wants anything, any talk here. But SoFi got close. This is another one of those names where I'm trying to get, really trying to get out of some more SoFi here. And if we can do that, then I don't mind doing that. I haven't got out of anything recently, but SoFi up here into 15, 50, 16 bucks. Again, like Robinhood, that seems to have all the momentum. It's like what I was telling in the chat there about Uber. It's not that I think anything's wrong with it. It's just right now the stories don't seem to be, you know, there with Uber and they're there with Tesla right now. So I was just thinking like, you know, opportunity to get out of some Uber and maybe buy some back in, you know, low 70s something. I don't know. But SoFi may be the same type of thing. You know, there's more competition coming out. And I don't think necessarily like Webull or anything like that is going to eat their lunch immediately or any sort of a situation like that. But, you know, you never know. And I think that that's something that we all have to be slightly concerned with when all these new sort of finance plays come out. And I know SoFi is a bank, and that's, you know, much different than the rest of them. But, you know, SoFi up there, good levels. I think 12% short float. Something to look at for SoFi, up 1.15%. JP Morgan today as well. I mean, some of the banks, wow, what a comeback for JPM. Didn't even realize this. Okay, so like I said, I haven't reviewed in a minute, but this is starting to get up there, man. We last got some out. I thought it was 268, to be honest with you. We're long JP Morgan 230s from here, from tariff time, and nice move upside right now on JP Morgan. Just trying to get back to the all-time highs. I mean, we're now $3 away from that. We bought right here, actually, on this dip before tariff time. Then it went up into 250, and we thought we were pretty smart there. And then all of a sudden, whoops, nice move to the downside, and we didn't get anything out. So we did hold this $20 against us. So now that we're about 40, a little bit more than $40 in the money, that's double what we held against us. I'm not going to count this wick down to 198. That would be crazy. I'm not even sure that happened. But down there, 210, nice bump up there, 277 for JP Morgan, now reaching near all-time highs. So definitely like that, man. And you know, XOM, and just putting more money to work somewhere else. You know, like XOM down 3%, oil down 8%, like probably worth buying some of these dips. Like we already talked about this, if they shut down that Strait of Hormuz, then that will be a problem for China oil, not necessarily for US. US has claimed to be independent oil now anyways, just with all their oil on shore. So I'm not sure
like we should be.
What that will do for the United States or for the price of oil. But XOM, they have some clean energy initiatives as well. And then CVX would be another play. Just going through, you know, the chalk names here, have some nice moves higher. And then there's other names, you know, not PDD, Pioneer. I forget what that symbol is. They might have got bought out actually. And then Occidental, another name there to the downside. Yeah, see, so this is a little bit more of a pure play. That's down now 4% on Occidental. So, oh boy, yeah, lots of stuff going on here, man, today. So what about Boeing? Boeing, okay, so they had, unfortunately, a tragic event happen a week and a half ago or so, or maybe it was even last week. Yeah, it must have been right there. What day was that? June 11th or so, when they had that Air India crash. I guess there isn't much finger pointing.
We're not going to see much for a while.
Yeah, so right into 200, maybe a buy for Boeing.
These things take forever, these investigations. But I said this when it happened, and look, lots of pilots have said this, so I'm not saying like this is anything crazy. Like my cousin's a pilot, and a lot of the people that watched the footage, their mind immediately went to pilot error based on the configuration and what they saw. It doesn't mean that that's true, but I think that's why it's starting to look a bit better. The bad news for them was that Airbus stole the show at the Paris, the Paris Air Show Boeing pulled out their CEO obviously, and I believe a couple of other officials pulled out for obvious reasons. They had other things to take care of, but Airbus did really well and impressed everybody. It might be a buying opportunity in Boeing, but you could be waiting a year before that investigation is done. Just quickly, it looks like it was a good decision to just jump out of that breakout trade on Circle. It's right back under VWAP. It's just there's no juice in this as we're looking at it. And then CoreWeave, if you're watching this and thought that was going to do something, pretty much fell underneath VWAP as well. Still got a chance to be able to break. Ooh, Mobileye breaking out. Just heard volume on Mobileye, 6 million shares. Yeah, we never got a news. Mobileye up 11%. I guess this is some kind of a sympathy play to Tesla's Robotaxi, maybe. But this is starting to look like a good-looking chart. Well, look, it's a bad chart on the daily chart. Here's what I mean. It looks like it's making a bottom. It's not a good-looking chart. It looks like it's making a bottom. The last few times it's challenged the 200-period moving average speaks for itself. And when it did it before, it couldn't break out of a prior resistance when it got back above the 200. Now you've got a clean resistance level, and it's breaking back out above the 200. Ideally, you'd kind of be in it going into this 17.5. So you'd want to be swing long already. So this kind of stinks if you have to try to chase it. But yeah, it looks really good on Mobileye. I owned this at one point out of pure fluke. But yeah, it looks pretty good on Mobileye. I don't know that I would chase this move, but if it can hold 16, you might have a little bit of a swing trade in there. More of a Tesla guy when it comes to autonomy. And then remember, like if you own Google, you get autonomy that way. You own Tesla, you're getting it as well. There's not a need to be in a million things. Like there's a few stocks that you get a little piece of everything if you own them, like Amazon gets you all the exposure you need, and Google gets you a million tons of exposure. But Mobileye's chart does look a little bit constructive. I'm still looking for Circle on the off chance there's a late break, but we're running out of time here. Nothing's popping off on my e-signal scanner, Sean.
No, well, that's good that you're using eSignal, because everyone can scan that QR code right now and join Neil and myself and grab that first month free on eSignal. You can see all these scanners, as Neil just mentioned, popping right in front of our face right now. Lightning fast market data, over 500 symbols at once. It is that eSignal experience, and you definitely want to be part of that one as it continues to be, again, used over here. I mean, for myself, I really enjoy. Oh, that fell out again? My fob fell again. Okay, I gotta put that in my different pocket. We'll talk about that when we get back. But scan it right there, over 500 symbols right now. You can chart. We talked about back testing and all of that. So if you are looking for a reliable piece of software, we support eSignal here on the show, and make sure you do scan it. Go try it out. It's completely for free. So, you know, if you don't like it, get out of there. It does support all the major exchanges as well on an entitlement basis. So if you want the Nasdaq or the NYSE or NYMEX or anything like that, and you don't want to pay for, you know, the TSX or something, some of those fees are baked into other platforms, you can decide which exchange and which quotes you want to view on the eSignal platform. So go give them a shot. And again, we want to thank them for sponsoring by giving us that first month free. I mean, that's it, right? If you don't scan it, you don't go there, you know, we don't get anything, but you know, it's a good chart program. We use it. I show it all the time on the show as well. I mean, including right here. Here's the hot list scanner that I'm using right now. This is called Trade Rate. So it gives me an idea of some names that are sort of popping off. And I mean, today it's obvious. HIMS is on there. And this changes all the time. So if there's a news story that comes out, like Dara says, oh my God, like, I mean, none of these names circle. They're already on there. You know, Palantir is there. Dell just said, like, that'll shoot right to the top. You know, so this is obviously something that you want to have up. You can relate this. Just click, see, there's GHC right there, but that's a $965 stock. So maybe just outsized volume. What the trade rate will give you is based on its historical rates. So, you know, if Tesla's moving like crazy, it's just near the highs because it's, wow, up 8% right now, 346, and maybe coming back in just a little bit there for Tesla. But this is something that I like to use. Intel, Google. There's ETHA as well, IBIT, Google. There's TDOC on there. There's, ooh, Big Bear right now, 412. Good. That's starting to go back there to the upside. Microsoft, look at this, man. Brand new. I just saw that right there. 52-week highs today for Circle, 52-week highs for Microsoft, 52-week highs for Cisco. Wow, Cisco, wow, okay, right there. That thong song, you know, that makes sense though, right? Cisco into the summer, of course, it's...
Obviously.
You know, some plays are so obvious, like the maker of the thong song, Cisco, right there. So you got to watch out for that one. Merck 134. I don't know what that was doing. It's $79 right now, but that was a high price there for Merck at one point. Coinbase still needs to get to 350 for its 52-week high as well. But there's Circle, man. Got to 300 today, 248 and change. That Circle at $3 man. Like if that's going to be a trade for tomorrow, I would think at some point.
That breakout. Here's the thing.
I think it's a short, but we'll wait to see.
Well, you're going to trade. You've got to trade these levels on Circle and take a shot at them, because I didn't take a shot at 300. But like anytime I see Circle do this, whoops, let me just there we go. Anytime I see Circle make an obvious double top, if you take a break, even if you use a tight stop, like when it flies, it might just fly like $3-4 for you right away without going against you. It's just a scalp trade. And it's the same thing with the 300 level. You could play it for a breakout, and if it goes right away, great. Maybe you get 305, 310. If it doesn't work, you lose a buck, whatever. You want 1, 2, it depends on whatever your risk is. You can short it and just think the same thing. If you shorted that today, congratulations. I have paid for locates on Circle every single day without using them. Not every day. Every day since I think it broke 150. And I haven't used them yet. But there's going to be that, like I said, there's going to be that moment. Obviously, slap to fail, because I guess if I short 270 instead of trying to go long 268, you could have shorted the even dollars and made $10 instead of trying to scrounge out a little bit of a win. But those are the levels you got to wait for. If it never breaks 300, let's just say if we don't break 300 or at least test 300 again, you've got to consider that a reasonable pullback is $200 on this, and it's not crazy to be at $150. Just all things considered on Circle. Like there is no pullback that is, actually the better way to put it is there is no pullback that's unreasonable outside of, going underneath $100. So just be careful with this. I think I'm playing it for pure momentum and breakout trades, and then just see if we can get in and out really, really quickly, because we were talking about this with Obi on Friday. Like all morning long was frustrating. You were here in the morning. Like I wasn't having a very good morning. I had one breakout trade lunchtime. It wasn't really a breakout, one dip buy on Circle, and that was my entire day. And someone was saying this earlier. We talked to a bunch of traders. They're like, wow, I wasn't trading that well. I caught one long on Circle, and it made up for the entire day. And it did that a couple of times for you. It's just so different here today, not looking as strong as it was before. Just a couple of notes on the early look. There's some small cappers, everybody. Him's probably not a surprise, 1.3 million to sell.
Never.
Wolf, million to sell. It's a penny stock, but here we go. Archer, almost 1 million shares to the buy side. That's worth watching. I swear I saw QBTS there. Oh, QBTS is actually smaller than it was before. It was over 1 million shares, now 700,000. So a little bit disappointing. You got HPE, but don't worry about that. CVE, 2.9 million to the buy side. These are early. In about 7 minutes, you're going to get an update on the imbalance locator. Just one of the stocks I'm going to have up, and unless you were watching on Friday, you wouldn't really know why. You wouldn't understand why I'm going to have this one up on the side burner. I'm just going to pull up CME, because weird stuff happened at the close on Friday, to which I have no direct explanation. There wasn't a gigantic imbalance in either direction, but somebody clearly got screwed on CME at the close. Maybe they were anticipating one thing, and then they thought it was going to be a big sell imbalance. It didn't happen, and then they got squoze. But my eyeballs are on this. If there is any big imbalance on CME, you might see me jump in and join it. I don't care buy or sell. It was weird price action, and the only reason we didn't trade it is we were convinced it was a news story, but I think somebody just got offside at the close on Friday. CME group should not move like this, of course, right? Like everyone knows what the CME is. It's not something that's that volatile, especially at the close.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting one. I like you mentioned, I wasn't here for that, but that was that can happen.
It happens.
We have the rebalancing happening.
I think somebody fat fingered, or a program got out of hand, and then they had to unwind with like 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's possible. Talk about only 10 minutes to go. We have 7 minutes until those imbalances. But right there, I'm just going to get out some more cues, right? I mean, we talked about this, making the move back in. We wanted to be able to hold this in case there is a more dramatic move, and that's the break of that 20 level. So that's what I'm waiting for. I do not have any other bids, so that's kind of irresponsible. Now you guys will know why I kind of, not panic, but like when we got that 26, how happy we were when we got that. Like it just fell into that level and then it ripped back up 40 cents. So for me, with the shares and all that kind of stuff, it's like 40 cents is big. Like I always hear, I see on the chat like, oh man, this guy just took 25 cents. Like who trades like that way? And that's what I'm saying. You gotta, trade your way and make sure that you understand the risk and reward that's in your account and what you're able to hold and go through and what your targets are and things like that. So I'm still holding for a breakdown here. Like with the profit that I have in the account right now on this trade, it's great, but I'm thinking lower. So we need to wait for that, right? So hopefully we do get a little bit of a dip down here on the TQs, and then we'll deal with it at that point. But nice move back in now, looking for that imbalance to come. It's going to have to come to the sell side. It's getting close right now before we have to stop out of this. I just don't really want to be in it if it blows to the upside, right? And so what we'll do is we'll cancel our top offer up here in the 80s, and then we'll still hold this and get out if it does break higher. But maybe right now, instead of using 73, we'll just try the high of the day, maybe 74.85 or so as our stop. But now that we're getting closer, I'm actually going to take an opportunity to get some more out at 37. I'm bidding ARCA. There it is. There's the fill. So we get a little bit out there as it just fills us back and forth a little bit there, and we get some rebates on that trade. But for right now, kind of fingers crossed that we wind up doing that. Yes, Dr. J, I am still holding the Marvell swing, but this is why it's like you kind of got to not be here every day, but we talked about this on Friday, and just that oops, that's scrolling the wrong way here. Let's do this. Just that move up that we had here on Friday, right there, right off the open, because we didn't take anything out here when we went back up to the upside. So when that happened there on Friday, we got 76s. We offered exactly 76 on Friday, and that's what we were able to take out a piece of Marvell. So I think that was 25%. So yes, we still are holding the majority of this trade, as it's not looking that great now, as we're all the way back into 70. Still long 64.90 on MRVL. The one that we're out on of our most recent buy was Webull. But, we talked about this. It's not as much risk in Webull as we had in Marvell, but I like it just as much, if not more, for longer term play on Webull. But I do think that we do have an $8 or so play coming. I mean, that's that bottom wick right there.
Yeah, the actual.
That's nine. Actually, that's 950. So we'll wait. We'll wait for some lower plays there, as we talked about, waiting for maybe their next quarter to see what happens with Webull. But what's up, Adara?
Just keep an eye here on PYPL. This one got a bit of now at least a topping tail candle. About an hour ago, the company announced that it's expanding its partnership with Salesforce, or CRM, as a featured model context protocol server on Agentforce's Agent Exchange. This was just recirculated on X now, so even though this news is over an hour old, PYPL breaking into day's highs as we get this, increased interest here on X in the company, again being chosen by CRM as a model context protocol server on their Agentforce exchange. Back to you.
Thank you, Adair. 2 minutes to go till the imbalances come out here. Still pretty much the same on the early look. HIMS a sell 1.7, Archer a buy of about 1 million shares. Oh, CCL was on there before. Note on CCL, everybody, we get that fun thing where CCL reports like minutes before we open tomorrow, because that's how they roll. The only company I know that reports within 15 minutes of the opening bell, seemingly every single time. But I can't remember the last time it wasn't a tradable stock. You know the way that one's going to move. Teladoc's right at $8. Time of day, I kind of said I would not take this trade if it was right at the imbalances. The imbalances can come out and kind of skew everything or anything that you might have technically. And with only 2 minutes to go, I will not pull the trigger just shorting in front of that $8 level. It doesn't make any sense. It might be a chance to take it on the other side of the imbalances. I'm going to have, as I said, CME up. I'll have this up as well. And then that Archer, just on the off chance, Archer Aviation, you get a buy of like 1 million shares. I should probably have HIMS up as well. I'll throw HIMS on another chart. Those are the ones that I'm looking for, just in case we see something crazy on the imbalance locator that we can take a shot at for the close. David Tretsiak, thank you for the super chat. So tempted to play short on Circle overnight swing, but got so run over this AM. It's REO Speedwagon, Mr. Blue Sky. Yeah, look, I understand why everyone wants to catch. It's the hero trade. Like, there's no bigger hero play than getting the top of the market on a stock like this. But at the same time, people probably thought that at 130 and 150 and 200 and 250. If you have an out, fantastic. But the way to go usually is play with options, and I think Joe was even mentioning premiums were absolutely ridiculous on here. I can tell you the 300 is a great level. It seems like it would be difficult for it to gap past it because you're at 270, so you probably have a decent shot of your stop being valid, but that's always my favorite. I don't short anything overnight in my personal account. I've never done a swing short. I've sold covered calls. That's the most I'll ever do when I feel bearish on something outside of day trading. But yeah, you have some cover to that 300 level. If it was closing at 290, you'd be at a heck of a lot more risk of it just gapping through you, because to me, that's your problem. It gaps through a stop, and then the next thing you know, you're losing 20, 30% more than anticipated. Good luck. I mean, I'm not looking for the short on that thing. That's just not my cup of tea, that core weave. I think eventually they get smoked at some point, but like A&F a couple of years ago, good luck predicting that top. Here come the imbalances, everybody, right about now-ish. So Nvidia, 3.5 million to buy Nvidia. That's what's standing out. APG, that's supposed to be an upweight. These guys, this is a 2.4 million sell, this APG, but they're going into the S&P 400 replacing US Steel. I expect that would flip. You've got Open, which is, who cares? Intel, 1.5 million sell, doesn't really matter that stock. GDX is a sell of 1.5 million, that's a bit weird. BBAI, 1.2 million to the buy.
Yeah.
SMCI, 1.2 million to the sell. Pretty mixed board. The market overall, 70 million to buy. The Nasdaq, 400 million. The Dow, 65 million. The Mag 7, 463,000. It's a nothing burger there. The biggest names really for a trade would be SMCI and BBAI, and those were not the ones I was looking at. I thought maybe we'd see something on that CME after what happened on Friday. And yeah, nothing going on CME. I think it was worth a shot. Stock doesn't run, the stock runs like $20, $30 like that. If you can see even half of that the next session, might be worth it. But CME doing nothing. Kind of a disappointment. BBAI, good look though.
Yeah, BBAI, we're really happy with that. We're really happy with AMD.
Oh, high day break.
High day break on BBAI.
On the imbalance, it broke high day.
Yeah, I called it up. Like I said, man, we're going to be out at $6. I'm just glad that BBI is starting to work out, and hopefully some people are on that train with your boy as well. But AMD, nice move back up. We'll get some out of there. And, right on schedule, if I'm short, the imbalances are going to go long and vice versa. So there goes the Nasdaq. We're lucky enough, though, man. We started covering some down there in the 35s. You heard me talk about getting worried. And then we got some more outs at 50 as well. So it's been okay. Here it comes back in. There you go. I'm starting to bid some more. So we're starting to get some more fills. Oh, no, we missed that fill. Sorry. I was bidding 47s. I thought I was bidding 57s. Let's just put a bid now at 53. See if we can get something else out there. Okay, bring it back in just a little bit. We could get a flip up of these imbalances. So if Nvidia, oops, that's APG. If Nvidia ever flips over, the market probably falls with it. So somewhat happy with that. We just need to wait for 355, and hopefully our trade will last until then. I'm going to give this into the day's high for this particular trade. We've done actually pretty well doing this trade here, but yeah, it's going against us now as the imbalances, as we just said, flipperoo, the other way on us there. So far, so good on that one. Oh, I just saw someone put in the chat, so shout out to you, whoever that was. Oh, there it is, JB at Pug Life, Google, Palantir, Nike. So yeah, Nike today down 1.7%, but down right now. I thought that they had put in some sort of sandbag the last couple quarters there. So we'll wait to see what winds up happening with Nike. Again, iconic American brand. We'll see if it holds out and gets a little bit higher.
I believe they report this week.
Yeah, today's KB Homes. I don't know.
KB Homes is tonight. Tomorrow morning, CCL.
Okay, that's.
I mean, usually when we say that, I look over and like Adair Bales. No, I think Nike reports this week. I'll double check in a quick little second. But there was one name that had an early looking bounce that I forgot to mention because it did not come out as anything. That was Hims. Hims did have a 1.6 million sell. I didn't even see it on the list when it came out, and maybe that's because Nike's on Thursday. Thank you very much, Adara. Appreciate you. And thank you, Andre, for letting me know. Hims, maybe it just couldn't go any further to the downside. Gonna close more or less, barring a minor miracle at the low of the day. We've said just be careful with these. Give them a couple of days. Everyone wants to catch a bottom of a falling knife because, then, again, you can be a hero. But there's not much like there's no big levels on it. Sean mentioned 28. I think that makes sense. Down, actually more like 25, 26, but down around underneath 30. The 200 period's not till 34. I think you let this one simmer here. Not a good look for them at all. If you're gonna, if this partnership was gonna cause them to go up 50, 100%, then what do you think it's gonna do on the downside? Let's go to Adair.
This part of the show is brought to you by our friends at Trade the Pool. We got a behind-the-scenes look at Trade the Pool. The dashboard tracks your progress in real time. Live stats, profit, and more. You can break down every trade. See your entry, exit, and how it played out on the chart. Check the certificates page for your full summary, achievements, and payouts. In this clip, that is Michael T. He's already earned over $75,000 in total payouts. Trade the Pool gives you the tools and the capital to go further. Ready to level up? Visit tradethepool.com or scan the QR code on screen. Back to you.
I know, same.
And I'm curious about, because I know, and shout out to Trade the Pool, scan the QR code you see in front of you. I'm curious how that all for one for all the competition went to beat the Qs. I guess we'll find more about that. We're gonna have Money Mitch. We're gonna have Mitch on. I assume.
Okay. He's normally on tomorrow, isn't he?
Well, I mean, I always like to. Okay, I double check the calendar just to make sure.
Okay.
I don't want to tell people he's going to be on tomorrow morning. We get an update on that. So shout out to Mitch. The imbalance is at 355. Nvidia's paired off that big buy imbalance. SMCI has stayed, so that's still 1.6 million to the south. Well, it was maybe like 1.2 million. SMCI. Oh, did it get there? That's close. It might have gone 10% down. If not, it is. It's like a tick or two away from being SSR tomorrow. I know this is counterintuitive, but if it goes 10% down, I'm looking for a long setup tomorrow on SMCI, ideally off of some of the support at 39 to 40. I just like that SSR bounce on a day two. Of course, if it never actually gets down 10%, that won't be true. But worth watching here. Join myself, Adair. We're going to have Michael Noss on. And I saw people in the chat talking about Fartcoin. So we might be able to ask. We might be able to ask about that one. The crypto move, the Bitcoin move in general. We'll probably talk about how resilient the market was here today, despite all the geopolitical news. But let's go back up to the desk with Adara.
Speaking of geopolitical news, Donald Trump here on Truth Social once again to end the day with two posts. The theme of these posts basically has to do with what happened here earlier today with Iran striking Qatar. And one post, he just thanks the Emir of Qatar for, I guess, trying to ensure peace in the region. But in the first of these posts, it gets a little bit more interesting. He basically says that Iran's response was, quote, a very weak response. And of the 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down and one was set free, quote unquote. He also said that, most importantly, he believes Iran has, quote, gotten it out of their, quote unquote, system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. So he's saying he's encouraging Israel and Iran to seek peace and harmony in the region. Back to you.
I wasn't sure what set free was, but basically it wasn't going to hit anything, so they just let it go. That's what set free meant. That's kind of a weird way to put it, but look, obviously, when you're seeing the reaction, price doesn't lie. And the market being as strong as it is sort of speaks for itself. So ultimately, the market's going to be up 1%. It's never a fun thing when we have bad news, but it's certainly good when the market can react to bad news positively. Just a couple of blemishes when we look at things like SMCI today or like Alphabet today. It's not like everything was super strong. There were a couple of weak points out there, but overall looking very, very strong. I'm a little disappointed this afternoon in Circle. Who knew? We tried to break out in this. It couldn't go. It just held $260 for the second time in there. Maybe that'll be something a little bit tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, kind of a nothing burger this afternoon for Circle. And before I head up to the desk, Teladoc does fade off a fail break of $8. I followed my rule. I'm not taking that trade. And in the last couple of minutes of the day, just in case there's a weird imbalance or something along those lines. And it did the fail break, if you're wondering. The fail break, the break of $8 and coming back under, that was right at $3.50. And it didn't even go that far for you. You're only in the money 10 cents, and you're still having to hold it to try to get more. We should be having this one on our radar possibly tomorrow. Teladoc 15% to the upside. and looking pretty solid on the daily chart there. So I'm going to head up to the desk. We'll be join me, myself, Adara, and Michael Noss for the market recap. As
Yeah, boom.
I don't know if you have any sports tonight, but make sure you hydrate if you're outside.
And my kids are trying to run to some pools right now, apparently. So
That's legit.
yeah, they're figuring it out. So my son's just growing like freaking huge. So he's got to go find another bathing suit. Right now, it's been probably 6 months or so. All right, so look, AMD, so we'll lose on the Nasdaq going higher here into the close. We talked about that. That's the TQ's position. It's fine. I mean, we were, really the only stop out that we had was right into there. Where we got stopped out right here and then went short again and brought it back short there. Now we're starting to come back. We just get a 72 fill. So we're short here in the 80s, right? So it's been okay, but nothing too dramatic. And then AMD has had a really nice run to the upside here to end of the day. So let's just cover that right now at 57 and get out of there. And then watch out as this, we want to say thank you to Orogenics here, symbol list OGen on the NYSE for sponsoring our close. Here it is right now, closing bell 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. The market is now closed. Thanks, Adara, for that one. Yeah, look, more news coming through. I'm still in some of this TQ trade, so, we'll hold a little bit more here into the close. It's only KB Homes coming through. Cover a little bit as we start to get out more on the futures. Look, it was kind of a mad day overall. We did, especially in the afternoon, if you're going to see what the Nasdaq did here this afternoon, was a whole bunch of nothing, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a very aggressive morning. We had huge moves up in Apple off of 2 bills, right? That was good. Then the break and then the fake and then back up to highs again for Apple. AMD got going, tried to get going, so those were good trades there. The futures, we just talked about them. As by the way, the Nasdaq's coming way back in right now. This is a 30-cent hitter right there, so we do hold a little bit. I told you we got a little bit off-putting there with the closing trade in the Nasdaq because of those imbalances. So we'll cover some more down here as well. But without any further ado, that's enough for me. Thanks, Andre, Ramin, Brendo, Neil Adara, everybody there today. Fabian Getwell, Sharif over there, Joe, everybody. Thanks so much. My guy Mateo in the back. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay cool and dry, I guess, if you're around here in Toronto. It's a muggy one out there. Talk to you tomorrow. Ciao.
That's right, everybody. You got to make sure you hydrate if you're up here. And it is going to be like our high with the humidity in Fahrenheit, 115, 45, 46-ish area. So it's a hot one. Well, I can tell you on the market recap, everybody, when you look at these markets, the heat map is going to tell you the abject destruction that energy had today. Maybe not what everyone was expecting. You had, obviously, you had a lot of geopolitical tension, which resulted in the bombing in Iran over the weekend, and you had some retaliation today. It didn't matter. USO took it on the chin. UNG took it on the chin. Oil names got absolutely smoked. It felt like it was an abject trap move where everybody that was going to be long energy and energy is going to explode got the absolute rug pulled out of the Madeira. And that's what it looks like on some of these charts. Like if you just look at USO in here, completely, like it was weak already. And then you had a rug job it was just after lunchtime. And that is a nasty move. You don't usually see things like this, 8% to the downside. You look at natural gas, that was going down. That was trending down already. And not quite as heavy percentage-wise, but it was trending from the open. Some individual names in the space. Look at the chart of XOM, complete destruction. But it wasn't all bad because, hey, Robotaxi, Tesla. Sean had the great long in Tesla. I think there's always, what's the line? There's always a bull market somewhere, and there's plenty of green out there. I mean, you see on the chart here, uranium's going to be up, FXI is up, Tesla up 8% today. But man, that energy move caught so many people off guard that they must have thought a lot. How many times did I hear $100 oil over the weekend? And yeah, well, that's not happening, everybody. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, it was certainly a nice little, I guess, fake out or counter trend if you took that oil short. I know Michael Noss, actually, we'll see him very soon. He was reposting someone else's tweet here, basically, where they were talking about how, if you actually looked at the chart, it did suggest kind of a short, even though we did have this news suggesting it was a long. So we know these CMTs, like people like Brian Shannon or Michael Noss, will say that they're not always necessarily watching what's happening from a news standpoint because they're going to listen to the technicals. In this case, listening to the technicals certainly worked. And I think there are times too where you can actually mess yourself up in trades by paying too much attention to the news, be it entering something when you don't need to or getting out of something when you don't need to. Like, I even remember once I was in a Boeing long and I heard this story that I thought wasn't a great look for Boeing, got out of the long. I didn't need to do that. So, like, I guess the moral of this story, I think that oil really proved, and that I'm sure Michael Noss maybe will discuss when we get him on here, so stay tuned for that, is just the fact that sometimes the news and the technicals are not aligned. And I mean, obviously, it can be a great trade when these things do align, and it gives you a great move, but that's not always going to be the case, and just be nimble. I also want to talk really quickly about KB Home's earnings. They're not out yet, but here's what to expect. Previous move here, negative 5.2%. Expected move, which I did write down this morning, so it might have changed slightly. I had it 9.7% at the time. We have here, estimated earnings per share, it's been a long day, guys, of $1.45. And then revenue, we're expecting $1.5 billion. Let's see what's happening. Trump also apparently just posting, congratulations, world, it's time for peace. So that happened. Yeah, how are you? What you looking over here?
No, I was going to say, I just got a Sir Poopy Paper Hands in the chat there. Okay. I appreciate your words. You say such a good call earlier to get out of oil. It really wasn't. I'm just going to be dead honest with you. We're live trading here. Adara literally says, and I think I heard it in my ear too, but I heard it first from Adara. Donald Trump basically said, keep oil prices down. And Indo, I was trading INDO in that moment, and it looked like it was breaking out. But at the end of the day, when you see something reverse and it just looks obvious that we're headed down, just get out and be able to play the other direction. Like Indo was breaking out early. It looked like it was going to go. I mean, I had in my note a 725 breakout. I was buying the dip back into it. I flipped into a short. But I think sometimes you just have to be willing to do it. It's one thing to have a bias. It's another thing to be so stubborn about it that you're just not going to listen to any of the tape. The exact moment at which that got said ended up giving you a short entry right after back into the same level. So you've just got to be able to, I don't know, like read the room, read the tape. But you know, it wasn't any kind of a crazy call. I literally heard that, punched out of the long, and then immediately looked for a short that was a setup. And that's all you can ever try to do. So not looking very good for any of the oil names. But if we're talking about some strength that was out there, I mean, Nvidia, have a look at this double bottom on Nvidia. I know it's flat on the day, but there is flat on the day where, you know, you see a chart that doesn't give you anything bullish, or there's the flat on the day that Nvidia had. Double bottom almost to the penny at 142. Like, look at this gorgeous double bottom on Nvidia. I did play this after I got stopped out taking it the first time and then saw the reversal candle, was able to play it back into VWAP. So Nvidia ended up okay on that trade. I was probably like 1 for 4 on Nvidia, but that one trade into VWAP was good enough to turn me green on the stock. But I love the way it got defended down at that 142. The only problem I have with this stock right now is it's in this weird sideways consolidation at the 145. Can't seem to break away from 145, but it's still putting in some higher lows. So I think you're getting some accumulation at this level since they reported, but you're just not getting any follow through to make that all-time high yet on Nvidia. Good sign that it held that 142, but at some point, holding higher lows needs to turn into breaking out, or you get pullbacks. Swing trades get a little bit, let's just say, impatient, and maybe start taking some smaller profits than they anticipated as we're not seemingly breaking out some of those highs. So, you know, let's see what happens tomorrow with Nvidia. Not the worst day in the world, but at least it held that bid pretty well at the 142. That's what I love about these liquidity events. Like when you had those big tanks, like we saw in the middle of the day here, let's go back to the 3-minute, you get some obvious levels that'll come back in. Another example of that, everybody, would have been Palantir. Like, what level are you guys looking at on Palantir tomorrow? For me, right down around at 136. I mean, I'll keep it pretty simple. Like, this stock dropped like a rock, but look where the buyers came in. Big bottoming tail at the 136 level. I love it when stocks do that because they can kind of show you the way, and then you just trade off of something obvious that happened the day before it, Aaron.
Yeah, and I think one stock that's kind of giving you, I think, maybe some interesting levels is Coinbase. So Coinbase had a really nice reversion here at 294.70. So this is a slightly lower low than the lows around like the high 290s level that we made on Friday. It also made a higher high. So it's giving you, I would say, a little bit of a wider berth here. But I think what is key is that level around 311. So obviously we broke out of it today, this morning. But when we came back in, we couldn't even break 309s. So I would maybe watch that 309, 310 level still. I think Coinbase is widening its range, but it certainly hasn't abandoned that range. So that's something I would maybe be aware of, just kind of on what Neil is speaking about today. But yeah, Coinbase was a great reversion twice. Yes. So as someone who, so I was actually in this breakdown here at Coin. Unfortunately, I got wicked out, got back in, wicked out once again. It is what it is, you know, it's all good. But I was able to have this upside reversion here breaking into the 300. So you got to, you know what I mean? Like you can't chase, you have to wait for a move to come in because sometimes, you know, things will give you a reversion. As Obi says, you know, the reversion can often be mean, but sometimes it can be nice as long as you're patient and ready.
I think the long one was better, by the way. On that chart, the long one looks like a better setup because you get the bottoming tail candle as well. KB Home's supposed to be coming in. We'll talk about Kim's maybe a little bit later. I know it's a stock we can talk about with Michael. KB Homes is out.
We're just waiting on it, just letting people know it should be out.
Okay, so it's not out yet. Yeah, I'm going to jump over. We got to mention HIMS today. Like, obviously, great job for the market. But HIMS just broke another fresh low and is tracking towards $40. It's still dropping in the aftermarket, HIMS. So we said be patient. Don't try to catch a falling knife. Allow it to show you a bid. It's still not making a bid. But guess what is making a bid? KB Home up 6%. Aftermarket breakout trade here. Looks like it just got to 55 and change. If you look at the daily chart or a weekly on the higher time frame, let's go to a daily actually. It hasn't been that good, but almost anything will have it back above the 50-period moving average. It has to lose $53. So a little bit of a trend reversal on any up move here with KB Homes. What are the numbers, Adara?
So at first you see these and you think they're pretty good, and then you kind of read the fine print, so to speak. So adjusted earnings here, they reported 1.5 or $1.50 per share. I was seeing estimates of 143, so they did beat estimates. Apparently, Benzinga was seeing estimates of 147. Either way, that's a beat. Okay. Sales, 1.52 billion. That's also a beat compared to estimates of 1.51 billion. Now let me get to the kind of part of this report, because it exists. That's going to be the year-over-year comparisons, Neil. So revenue this year, again, $1.52 billion versus last year, $1.71 billion. So they dropped here significantly year-over-year. Home deliveries, I mean, when you make homes, you'd like to see how many homes are delivered. Those were down 11% year-over-year to 3,120. Their average selling price did increase slightly, though they didn't actually give us any kind of comparisons, so I don't know how slightly it increased. All I know is apparently it increased. Their home building operating income also dropped year over year from 188.2 mil to 131.5 mil. So yet year over year comparisons for KB Homes are pretty grody. We also have here their guidance for fiscal 2025. I'm not seeing how it compares to estimates, but they're expecting the average selling price of the homes for fiscal 2025 between 480,000 and 490,000, expecting housing revenues between 6.3 to 6.5 billion for the year. If I see any comparison for this guidance, I'll let you guys know. Right now, I haven't.
Get it, Dara, because once you said it was icky after that top and bottom, you saw the reversal here in KBH. And that was pretty clear. Like once you get past the top and bottom line, some of the comparables not looking good, and it's right back underneath that 50 on the daily. $53 is now in the rear view. It got as low as, it's a real wick, got almost to $50 and was distinctly red. It's now trying to hold green here. The only earnings names that we have after market was KB. Now it's going to be red, losing the $51 level, so they don't like it. You've got to, and I know we always talk about this, and it's worth saying every single time because we believe in this to be true. Trading in the aftermarket on earnings is an incredibly dangerous game. This would be a good example of it. If you punch long because of a top and bottom line beat here, you could get absolutely rinsed. Maybe you do well scalping out of it very quickly, or your stops work effectively for you if you're able to use them. But the danger here is, hey, you're looking good. Oh, there's year-over-year comparables, and you've just dropped another $3 when your win was only about $1. It's a very, very dangerous game to be playing and not looking very good at all for KBH, and certainly not a good day. We were talking about HIMS before this. Just to point out, it's caught the tiniest of bids here, moving about 50 cents off the lows. This broke 41. Down 35% for HIMS, losing Novo, not a good look for them. It's going to end up, I mean, it doesn't actually even look like it's the biggest individual day notionally. Like, it might have had some bigger up days in this, but I can't imagine that it's had a bigger red day in quite some time. And I know it's had some pretty monstrous up days. I don't know if any of them have quite gotten this far, but Hims taking it on the chin. There doesn't seem like a lot of relief in sight when you look at the chart, and nobody wanted to buy this thing. Now, how many times this is the problem with Hims. How many times have we seen a chart look like this, gap down? I'll show you a QUBT would have been an example where you're looking really, really nasty, and then it catches a decent bid, able to break trend. At what point does this break the downward trend? More or less none. Like, maybe you could argue it broke it down here, went about $1, and then flushed through lows. The only one that did, we've seen it before, when a stock gets dumped, you want to see some buying action. Like, QUBT is down 8%, but that's a very different down 8% because it made a capitulation bottom. It bounced a couple of times. You have yet to see that happen on Hims. I don't think you want to catch this falling knife. Allow the big boys to show you that they're interested in defending a stock before you just sort of always swoop in. If you catch a reasonable bid on this, there's going to be plenty of upside at some point. I just don't think you're here yet with Hims. And Novo had their own news of their own and were weak today.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it was quite the day for weight loss drug stocks, because I want to talk about Amgen for a second too. That was the intraday weight loss drug news. Yeah, for Novo Nordisk and Amgen are actually kind of two sides of two slightly different coins, if that makes sense. I'll explain why in a minute. So Amgen coming out here with this intraday news, I'm sure you can tell where it hit because we took a move to the downside. They had this, I guess, their Maritide drug, which is a weight loss drug. They announced here the results for one of these trials. Now, apparently, a lot of patients decided they wanted to discontinue treatment. That's not really a great sign. People were deciding not to go through with the whole trial, so they said that they're really going to try to change up the doses to prevent this going forward. So the actual results were not bad, but I guess the fact that these patients are trying to get out early was not a good look for AMGN. Then we have Novo Nordisk, which had kind of a similar catalyst. Unlike what you see with Amgen, where you've got patients leaving the trial early, with NVO, you have the interesting case of, I guess, for lack of a better term, just more adverse effects. So apparently compared to the placebo, the NVO treatment, CagriSema, which has been plagued by issues since the early trials, not well received physically by some patients. So NVO and AMGN, two similar weight loss related stories. Hims, yeah, I mean, this one, a pretty interesting look. I'm sure if you were short this morning, you were singing Hims, never gave a clearer version. But I think now we're going to prepare for Michael Noss. Also, TLRY really quickly, Tilray, entering into a private debt for equity exchange transaction with an unrelated party, issuing almost 12.6 million shares in exchange for $5 million principal amount of its 5.2% senior convertible notes. So market right now seeming to like the story for TLRY. Can't believe that's a penny stock now. We're going to prepare for Michael.
Yeah, oddly enough, I know you said you can't believe it's a penny stock now. I can believe it. And that's just how some of those weed names go. But at the end of the day, it's all about momentum, and we're going to talk right now with our good friend Michael Noss. And if you were watching this morning, you were probably not very bearish on that geopolitical news. So big shout out to our special guest right now, who kind of called this. Hey, Michael, welcome here. Our good friend Michael Noss from Stats Edge. Is that fair to say? I mean, this morning we had you on this morning. You kind of said you pull out the history. You don't have to tell everybody bye. But we've seen this story before. The market isn't necessarily geopolitical news, and as bad as everything might seem when you turn on the news, if that's your thing, the market doesn't always have to reflect that. It's great for us that are long. I know you're long. I feel bad for anyone that got tricked into the energy trade. Some of those charts look terrible, and not a good look for them, but great call this morning.
Yeah, and I think more than, patting myself in the back or anything, it's a better lesson to people out there to show what you can do. I kind of outlaid the way that I did that as well, which was as easy as going to ChatGPT and saying, hey, give me the last 10 times that the U.S. got involved in a Middle Eastern conflict with bombs, and give me the dates. And then I'm sitting there on my couch while a lot of people are doom scrolling Twitter about being worried about things. And I went back to each of those dates and I took a screenshot for you guys and showed what happened there. And each of those times it was flat to maybe up a little bit. So it was, again, nothing magical, not like I figured anything out. I just went to AI, got the dates, and I showed what happened. So I was able to buy some crypto around that time because, of course, the markets were closed. But yeah, I bought some more futures on Sunday Open because of it. So sometimes it's just that easy, is get the AI to do the work for you and see what normally happens in this situation.
100%. The doom scrolling, it's so true. It's a really easy thing to just get kind of wrapped up. You're like, bad news. And a lot of people are like, oh, we're going to be gapped down. And then you see all the responses. Meanwhile, you get things like Bitcoin bouncing pretty much exactly off 100K earlier today. It's not the level that I like on the daily chart for Bitcoin, but we're talking about like the bigger technicals on the daily. But I mean, 100K is 100K. If you're looking to dip by something that isn't those low to mid 90s from before, there pretty much was nowhere else I don't think that you would have been looking to buy. Sometimes it's just that clean. I know you've been looking at crypto. Did you make any plays in that space? So you just mentioned now that you got little futures in there. Were you looking specifically at any altcoins? Were you looking at Bitcoin itself? What are your thoughts? I see you chuckling already. Michael, does this mean you bought some Fartcoin?
I may have, in front of a fire with a couple beers in my hand, saw the news and saw the drop in Fartcoin and said, you know what, I'm going to put a little bit in. But sensibly, because a lot of these coins were kind of doing the same thing. So I have the chart of Bitcoin open here, and I actually like the level that it broke because I think it did a little bit of a stop run. So we had a prior high at around 101,000. We dipped below that 101,000. And then we just rallied right above it. So this you can see on a lot of time frames, on a lot of different charts. I know some people call it a bear trap or a liquidity sweep or whatever it is, but the fact that we ran that level and bounced, I think, is super interesting. Also, the reason why I picked on my Fartcoin is Solana was kind of selling off here pretty dramatically as well. And going through and saying, okay, what's happening here that everybody is kind of throwing out all of the crypto and throwing out all these risk assets on the weekend? Well, generally speaking, turns out to be neutral or a little bit bullish. So I should be buying here. So seeing Solana, that was a way for me to look at it. But yeah, I also just picked up some Bitcoin there as we were just kind of undercutting this level, hoping that this is what would happen, and it did. So now I've just got a clean stop loss right at the low of this candle right here. And hopefully this little liquidity sweep spring shots us here to new highs.
Yeah, I'm with you. When we always talk about setups that you like, I much prefer, if I'm long something, then I would rather, as long as you don't get stopped out, I would rather it run stops at a level and then go than just bounce off the level altogether. And it's not to be, and look, I understand what that means. Technically speaking, that means that some people that are long probably had their positions taken out, and that's not good for them. But if we're just here as traders and investors, we like to see it. It's just more bullish. That's just how it is. Yep. Like in the same way I would tell you the energy move was more bearish because of how many people got trapped in the long. That's just sort of how it is. So when it comes to continuation, my first thought is we're so close to the highs. If we don't make a test of this high after what we're now seeing, do we go back into this mode of realizing, hey, for the most of the time, we're kind of in a sideways action. Maybe this only means a retest of the high and not a breakout of the high. Should we temper our expectations? Because truthfully, we've been in a consolidation, even if it's at the top.
Yes, I did that whole, I forget when, maybe on Friday, I think I did that whole study of new all-time highs after bear markets and what happens. And the big synopsis there is it's never clean. And it makes sense. If you think the market's one of those things that it will, prey on stop losses and find liquidity and all that, there's no better place to kind of play those games and shake out weak hands and shake the trees and whatever than at something at an all-time high after a big bear market like this. So I would not not be surprised to see that. However, kind of inner market and looking under the hood, seeing home builders up 3%, 3.5% today. Seeing some of these sectors across the board. Yeah, so here's the home builders chart. Massive push up here. We've got UFO, which is our space stocks, ripping and up a lot in the post market if that liquidity is being the same. Telecom up. These are just different sectors than the Mag 7 that got us there. Some of these names are just outside of that, and you could look at that as kind of widening breadth, right? They're buying different things than just AI, right? Home builders has to be kind of the furthest thing from AI, and the fact that that's getting a lift and a 3.5% in a single day is pretty crazy. So yes, we are chopping your highs. I don't think they're going to make it easy on us, but that's the most encouraging thing that I can see is when they're starting to buy things like home builders that are outside your traditional kind of AI trade that's been the runner for the last number of years.
Yeah, we love to see that market breadth for sure. Michael, I'm glad you pointed that, especially with the home builders, KB Homes reporting tonight. Hopefully, we'll catch a little bit of a bid. Dara has a question for you, so I want to throw you over to Adara so she can get a question in.
So it actually has to do with the piece of news we just got, Michael. Chewy, CHWY, announcing a $1 billion public offering of Class A common stock. They've also agreed to purchase from the selling stockholder apparently $100 million of Class A common stock. So odd little deal here. I know you've spoken about stuff like GME. Do you have any thoughts on Chewy's chart right now in light of this headline, I guess?
It looks like it could finally be recovering. This has been one of those annoying companies for a very long time where we are trading at pretty much the same price that we were back in 2022. So this has been just kind of a nightmare of consolidation. However, if you want to draw this out, and I say it all the time, I've been trained to buy smiley faces. It kind of looks like that's happening here. So I would just watch these prior highs around $50. Not only is that an interesting price level, because we've bounced off it here a number of times, but we all know these psychological numbers can still be important, above 50, below 50. So that to me is interesting. But if I look more on the shorter term chart, I don't like this gap down that now is also getting a gap down. This feels like it could be one of those almost a rug pull, but I guess not in the traditional sense of cryptocurrencies, just because you had this massive trend. So you had a lot of people buying and getting hyped up, and then it gaps down, and then we have more news that's kind of gapping us down as well. Short-term chart, I'm kind of worried. So for me, it would just be, I would set an alert around this $50 a share. If we got above there, great, maybe I'll nibble some, but below that, I don't really think I want to touch it.
I love that analysis, Michael, because it's so many traders, you have to understand time frame as well. So because I pulled up a weekly chart when I saw that news and was like, oh my goodness, yeah, let's go, break 50. But you do your full analysis. And I've made the mistake before as a day trader. Sometimes I don't zoom out enough I don't look at my 15, I don't look at my daily, and I regret it after. But when you pull it to that daily chart, it doesn't look all that good. So I'm glad you pointed that out. And just out of curiosity, because I want to ask you if there's anything that's on your mind that we've missed. But before I do that, while we're on topic, when it comes to looking at time frames, before you put on a swing, just walk me through, how many time frames do you actually look at? I'm more, I usually look at only about 3, I'm a 15-minute daily and a weekly for most things. I don't usually go too far past that unless it's a really long-term investment. But what are your go-to time frames that you focus on?
Well, yeah, if we start with Chewy, I actually as opposed to time frames, different chart types. So this is kind of weird, but might be interesting to people. So for example, if I'm zoomed out this high, I'm just looking at a line chart. And I find this is an easy way to kind of visualize what's happening in the price. I think line charts are actually really slept on. For presenting to you guys, it's really easy to see. But also, it takes out a lot of those noise. Because if I'm zoomed this far out, which is, I'm seeing 5-6 years of data at this point, those individual intraday wicks don't really bother me that much, and they're not really that interesting. I want to see the areas in which there was big turns one way or another. Then I find that more interesting to look at on that chart. So I will zoom out 5 to 10 years on a chart like that just to get overall trend, support and resistance. And then from there, the candlestick chart I find works much better for, maybe year to date or a 1 year chart or something like that.
Gotcha.
Just because then I can see things like gaps, right? Because if you're looking at this line chart, you don't see this gap. And if there's significant bottoming tails or topping tails, you don't get that either. So yeah, a line chart, very zoomed out. And then I zoom into the candlestick charts, because we got to remember what candles tell us is what happened inside of each day. So if I'm not concerned about what happened inside of each day over a long period of time, then I can use line. But that nitty gritty zoom in for me, that's going to be daily. And then for execution, I'll look at something like a 30 or a 15 minute. And that just gives me a better understanding of what's happened, over the last couple weeks to a couple days.
There it is, everybody. Not only does Michael come prepared to tell you to dip buy this morning with research over the weekend, but I can always put you on the spot and just give a little bit more perspective. That's the thing. I know you love looking at charts, so I get away with being able to put you on the spot with just about anything technical, and we get a fantastic answer. And that's why we love having you on. Be sure to check Michael out. Check out Stats Edge. You can find him on the X Machine as well with some great insights. Michael, it's always an absolute pleasure. Best of luck to all of your trades. Look forward to talking to you at the end of the week.
Talk to you on Friday. Always enjoy being here.
Have a good one, brother.
See ya.
As always, fantastic talking to Michael. I mean, if you watched this morning, if you didn't watch this morning, just go back and replay when we had Michael on about, obviously 8:45 or so, discussing the market's reaction to this kind of geopolitical news in the past, and then look at what ended up happening today. I think it speaks for itself here or there. Not crazy action on KB Homes, but before we get into the roll call, it's finally happened. And I saw you, Mr. Westermeyer, pointing this out in the chat. This is long overdue, but around here at Trader TV Live, we all, myself, Sean, the entire team, we all pride ourselves on keeping to our word. Now, there was the Buffalo Bills lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously, and as a result of that, I needed to send some merch to one of our guests. Who's from that area, and Mr. Westermeyer finally, and this was not my fault, it had to do with the supplier or whatever, the Trader TV Live black hoodie finally made its way, and as proof of that, if we can come to my screen for a second, here is Mr. Westermeyer there. Thank you so much, brother, for putting this out. I'm so glad you finally got it. I can't believe it took this long. It's a little bit ridiculous, but watching the show, I love the setup. Appreciate you. Next year, the Bills are going to, whatever. We're going to the Super Bowl. I say that every single year, and we'll do some kind of a double or nothing, because that's how we roll around here. But thank you so much. Go Bills. Just going to throw that out there. Chiefs stink. Before we get into the roll call, I just want to remind everybody, if you want to be in the roll call, if you want to be in our community, if you want to have some fun, if you want to ask questions, you just want to chat, maybe you want to ask something to one of us, maybe to anybody in our community, you got to hit that subscribe button, everybody. So hit the like, hit that subscribe for sure. Let's jump into some roll call. Give a big shout out to Ramin and Andre filling in for Fabian, who was not feeling well today. The Bash brothers on the midday. Give a big shout out to Sean, Brendo, Obi, Adara, bringing us a ton of news today. I mean, every day, but especially on days like today where geopolitical news is huge. Thank you so much, Adara. Drop your name in the chat, and let's get some roll call on.
Yeah, I want to thank Neil. I want to thank Sean. I want to thank Sharif. I want to thank Joe, Brendo, Obi, Ramin, Fabian, Andre, and everybody here in the chat. We've got Vivian Millionaire, Chris W, Tia, Mike Peter Ryder, Marcus Stevenson, Johnson, Jimmy C, Mark Preston, Sir Poopy Paperhands, Guap 10, Stevenson Etienne, Chris W, Mike Peter Ryder again, PWR Location, Stubborn, Never Always Ever, Hearst Scrambler. We've got Joshua Lee Mallory, Global Bagholder, Mr. Briggs, Bob the Dog, Which Concepcion, Eski, Stubborn again here, B-Bro 12, TH, Calicat, Christopher Jones, Bleep Blorpo, D. Westermeyer, yeah, thank you for sending that photo there. Marcus Stevenson Johnson, Mike, another Mike here, Bright Awakening, Cookie, Apple Money, Susie Fox, Alexa Bliss, Joshua Lee Mallory, Liddy Bams 7. Make sure to follow us all on social media if you want to join us every single day. We'll take a moment to do a plug. Check us out on X at TTV Research. I'm working on infographics for all of the major earnings this week. So we have one on BlackBerry revenue tomorrow that's going to release. FedEx versus UPS ahead of that report tomorrow night. Also RIP, that individual who's part of FedEx, Fred, RIP to him.
Legend.
Yeah, just a quick moment for that. But yes, we're also going to have Micron and Nike infographics. That's all coming up this week. Also, I have a new X account after weirdly being banned by Elon. I'm joking. I don't know why my account stopped working. It's tradertv AAPL. A little bit clunky. You can still find me. Yep. There we go.
You're finally back on how it should be. So all is right in the world of X. Thank you, Elon, for getting Adara back on there. But make sure you check out both accounts. Of course, Trader TV Research, fantastic already, and then Adara's account. All of our socials as well. But you know what, everybody? Volatility is here. We get CCL earnings tomorrow morning before the bell. We get some BlackBerry. We have more earnings to go throughout the week. Probably more geopolitical headlines, and you're in the right spot. Come right back here, 8:30 tomorrow morning. We're Trader TV Live. We'll see you tomorrow. And hydrate if you're in Canada. It's hot.